Expand your vocabulary with our core 2,000 words ebook. It's free and packed with essential expressions that you'll use on a daily basis. Start building your vocabulary today. Click the link in the description below to download your free Korean ebook before it's gone.
Welcome to KoreanClass101.com's 3분 한국어, the fastest, easiest, and most fun way to learn Korean. 안녕하세요, Amy예요. 반가워요. Hi, I'm Amy. Nice to meet you. In this series 3분 한국어, we are going to learn basic Korean expressions. It's super easy and it takes only 3 minutes. First of all, you're going to learn how to introduce yourself in Korean. There are a few different ways to do it depending on how formal you want to be. Let's first look at an informal way to introduce yourself. 안녕, Amy야. 반가워. Hi, I'm Amy. Nice to meet you. 안녕, Amy야. 반가워. Here, 안녕 means peace, so literally you say peace to say hello in Korean. Next, you can say your name, then add the sentence ending particle, 야. My name is Amy, so I say Amy야. Finally, you say 반가워. 반가워 means nice to meet you. Now you try it. Start by saying 안녕. Then say your name followed by 야. If your name is David, you can say 데이비드야. Finally say 반가워. 안녕 데이비드야. 반가워. Now let's see a formal version. 안녕하세요. Amy예요. 반가워요. Hi, I'm Amy. Nice to meet you. 안녕하세요. Amy예요. 반가워요. What has changed from the previous introduction? Let's take a close look at these together. First, 안녕 has to change to 안녕하세요. 하세요 is the verb meaning to do. If you add 하세요 next to 안녕, it becomes more formal and polite. 안녕하세요. Next, you can replace the particle 야 with 에요. Both of them are sentence-ending particles, and you can put them after nouns. But 야 is informal, and 에요 is formal. So if you say Amy예요 instead of Amy야, you can introduce your name in more formal way. Finally, 반가워요. Do you remember how to say nice to meet you in the informal way? 반가워. Here, you can simply add the particle 요 at the end of the verb. Then it becomes formal. 요 is a particle that can make a sentence polite. 반가워요. One more time. The formal way to introduce yourself is 안녕하세요. Amy예요. 반가워요. The informal way to introduce yourself is 안녕, Amy야. 반가워. Now it's time for Amy's insights. When you introduce yourself in Korea, it's polite to make a small bow. If you're a guy, bow with your hands at your sides. If you're a girl, bow with your hands in front of you. Bow from the waist. You don't have to dip down very far. Do you know how to say thank you in Korean? You will learn how to say this and many other words in the next lesson. 다음에 봐요. See you then. 안녕하세요, Amy예요. 반가워요. Hi everybody, I'm Amy. Welcome to KoreanClass101.com's 3분 한국어, the fastest, easiest, and most fun way to learn Korean. In the last lesson, we learned how to introduce ourselves in Korean. Today, we're going to learn how to use good manners as we thank people. Are you ready? Then let's start. There are several ways to thank someone. Let's start with the most common phrase, 감사합니다. 감사합니다. 감사합니다 means I do thanks or thank you. To say thank you very much, you just need to add 대단히, which means very much or greatly. 대단히 감사합니다. 대단히 감사합니다. 대단히 means greatly, so 대단히 감사합니다 is like saying thank you very much. In the last lesson, we saw that Korean has formal and informal ways of speaking. 감사합니다 is pretty formal. If you want to thank someone more casually, you can use a shorter phrase. 고마워. 고마워. Let's break down those phrases. In the formal way of saying thank you, 감사합니다. 감사 means thank you. And 합니다 is a formal way to say to do. So 감사합니다 means I do thanks. And to make it less formal, we swap out 감사 with a different verb. That's 고마워. It has the same meaning of thank you, but it's more friendly. When someone thanks you, how should you answer? There's no set response like you're welcome in English, but there are a few things that you can say. The first thing is 아니에요. 아니에요. You literally are saying no, but this is a common and informal way to respond to someone thanking you. You're telling the person that there's nothing to bother thanking you for. There's another phrase that's used to respond to thank you in Korean. 천만에요. 천만에요. But it's not used all that often. You're better off with 아니에요 in most situations. Now it's time for Amy's insights. 감사합니다 sounds formal. 고마워 sounds informal. What if you want to sound kind of formal, but still kind of friendly? In that case, you can upgrade the informal 고마워 to 고마워요. You see, you simply add 요 at the end. 요 is the sentence ending particles that make sentences more polite. This is a nice way to thank your waiter. 고마워요. Have you ever heard the phrase 안녕히 계세요 before? In our next lesson, you will learn this and more greetings in Korean. 여러분 감사합니다. 다음에 봐요. 안녕하세요, Amy예요. 반가워요. Hi everybody, I'm Amy. Welcome to KoreanClass101.com's 3분 한국어, the fastest, easiest, and most fun way to learn Korean. In the last lesson, we learned how to thank people by saying 감사합니다 and 고마워. In this lesson, we will learn some of the most common greetings used in Korea. Are you ready? Then let's start. The most common informal greeting is 안녕. 안녕. 안녕 means peace. We say it when we meet someone and also when we leave, but only to a friend or someone younger than us. The more standard greeting that you will hear a lot in Korea is 안녕하세요. 안녕하세요. Literally, 안녕하세요 means are you at peace? We use it to say hello when we meet someone. It's technically a question, but we don't always say it that way. 안녕하세요. Because 안녕하세요 is a question, some people answer it with 예, which means yes, before replying with the same question, 안녕하세요. When it's time to leave, we have a couple different ways to say goodbye. If you're leaving and the other person is staying, say 안녕히 계세요. 안녕히 계세요. 계세요 means please stay. So 안녕히 계세요 literally means please stay peacefully. A casual version of 안녕히 계세요 is 잘 있어. 잘 means well and 있어 means stay informally. So 잘 있어 just means stay well. 잘 있어. If the other person is leaving, say 안녕히 가세요. 안녕히 가세요. 가세요 means please go. So 안녕히 가세요 literally means please go peacefully. A casual version of 안녕히 가세요 is 잘 가. 잘 means well and 가 means go informally. So 잘 가 just means go well. Now you know lots of ways to greet people in Korean. Let's review them all once again. To greet someone casually, 안녕. To greet someone respectfully, 안녕하세요. To say goodbye respectfully when you're leaving and the other person is staying, 안녕히 계세요. To say goodbye casually when you're leaving, 잘 있어. To say goodbye respectfully when the other person is leaving, 안녕히 가세요. To say goodbye casually when the other person is leaving, 잘 가. During the next lesson, we will learn the meaning of the phrase 영어를 할 수 있어요? Do you already know it? We'll be waiting to talk about it with you in our new 3분 한국어 lesson. 여러분 안녕히 계세요. 다음에 봐요. 안녕하세요, 에이미예요. 반가워요. Hi everybody, I'm Amy. Welcome to KoreanClass101.com's 3분 한국어, the fastest, easiest, and most fun way to learn Korean. In the last lesson, we learned the most common greetings in Korean. Do you remember them? In this lesson, we're going to learn a very useful phrase. Do you speak English? If you find yourself in a situation where you need assistance in English, this phrase can be a lifesaver. And because you're asking it in Korean, you can be sure that everyone will understand what you're asking, even if their answer is no. Are you ready? Then let's start. Here's the basic way to ask whether someone speaks English. 영어 하세요? 영어 하세요? 영어 means English, and 하세요 means do you do? So 영어 하세요 means do you do English? If you want to be a little more specific and ask about someone's ability to speak English, you can say 영어 할 수 있어요? 할 수 있어요 means can you do? Can you do English? 영어 할 수 있어요? 영어 할 수 있어요? This sentence could be very helpful if you're in trouble on the street, in a restaurant, or a hotel. No matter where you are, if you're looking for someone who can speak English, just ask. If you want to be super polite, just add 실례하지만, which means excuse me but. 실례하지만 영어 하세요? Excuse me but do you speak English? 실례하지만 영어 하세요? The response will probably be like one of these three. Yeah? Yes? Yeah? 조금이요. Just a little. 조금이요. 아니 못해요. No, I don't. 아니 못해요. Since this last one is a negative statement about ability, we add 못, an adverb meaning can't. 못해요 means I can't. Now it's time for Amy's insights. For those of you who are not only English speakers, you can obviously use this question with any language you need. 일본어 for Japanese, 중국어 for Chinese, 스페인어 for Spanish, 독일어 for German, 프랑스어 for French. If you want to say, do you speak German? You can simply replace 영어 with 독일어. 독일어 하세요? Do you speak German? 독일어 하세요? In this lesson, we mentioned the word 실례합니다, meaning excuse me. In the next lesson, we will learn this and other ways to apologize in Korean. It's never too late to show your good manners to Korean people. I'll see you in our next 3분 한국어 lesson. 안녕히 계세요. 다음에 봐요. 안녕하세요, Amy예요. 반가워요. Hi everybody, I'm Amy. Welcome to KoreanClass101.com's 3분 한국어. The fastest, easiest, and most fun way to learn Korean. 실례하지만 한국어 하세요? If you understood this, you can say yeah, meaning yes. In the last lesson, we learned the phrase 실례하지만 영어 하세요? Excuse me, do you speak English? This uses the phrase 실례하지만, one way to say excuse me in Korean. Today, we are going to learn several ways to apologize in Korean. Are you ready? Let's start. First is 실례합니다. It means excuse me. If you want to add something to the end, tweak it to 실례하지만. Excuse me, but here 실례 means excuse and 합니다 means to do. So 실례합니다 means do excuse or excuse me. If you change 합니다 with 하지만, which means but, you can say 실례하지만. It means excuse me, but. Saying 실례합니다 doesn't mean you've done something wrong. It just means you have a question or favor to ask that may require someone to take some trouble for you. If you've actually done something rude, or if you made mistakes, you use a different phrase. 죄송합니다. I'm sorry. 죄송합니다. This is the phrase you would use if you ever bumped into somebody on the street in Korea. 죄송합니다. If you say 실례합니다 in this situation, the person you bumped may not get that you're apologizing and may instead think that you bumped them on purpose to ask a favor. How about saying excuse me to get a waiter or bartender's attention? Koreans use a couple of different phrases for that. The first is 여기요, 여기요. That means over here, please. It may sound a little rude in English, but in Korean it's fine. Another version that sounds slightly more polite is 저기요, 저기요. That means, excuse me, you there. It may sound even more rude in English, but in Korean it's no problem. When the waiter is away from you, you can use this phrase, 저기요. You don't have to wait for the waiter to come to you. Just speak up with 여기요 or 저기요. Between friends, you can say 미안해, sorry. 미안해. 미안해 is an informal way to apologize to someone. Using 미안 instead of 죄송 suggests that you've hurt someone's feelings, not just inconvenienced them. Now it's time for Amy's insights. Want to sound more sincere when you apologize? Just add 정말, which means truly. 정말 미안합니다. I'm truly sorry. 정말 미안합니다. You can use 정말 with 미안합니다 and 죄송합니다, but not with 실례합니다. Do you know anything about counting in Korean? How about the name of this series? 3분 한국어. See, you already know a number, 3, which means 3. In the next lesson, we will learn how to count from 1 to 10 in Korean. I'll be waiting for you in our next 3분 한국어 lesson. 안녕히 계세요. 다음에 봐요. 안녕하세요, Amy예요. 반가워요. Hi everybody, I'm Amy. Welcome to KoreanClass101.com's 3분 한국어. The fastest, easiest, and most fun way to learn Korean. In the last lesson, we learned the Chinese-based numbers from 1 to 10. Have you already forgotten them? I'll tell you again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's great that you can count to 10. But did you know there's a whole other way to do that? That's right. In addition to the numbers based on Chinese characters, there are also the native Korean numbers that we have been using before we even had Chinese characters. Here they are. 하나, 1, 하나. 둘, 2, 둘. 셋, 3, 셋. 넷, 4, 넷. 다섯, 5, 다섯. 여섯, 6, 여섯. 일곱, 7, 일곱. 여덟, 8, 여덟. 아홉, 9, 아홉. 열, 10, 열. Which one do we use? We use both. Some things are counted using Chinese-based numbers, and other things using native Korean numbers. For example, when telling time, we say the hour using a native Korean number and the minute using a Chinese-based number. So let's practice these numbers and learn how to say times too. Here's how to say the hour first. 3 o'clock is 3시. 3시. The native Korean number 3 is 셋, but we shorten it to 세 when we put it before a counter like 시. The last consonant, siot, of 셋 disappeared when it meets the counting unit. When you add 하나, 1, 둘, 2, 셋, 3, 넷, 4 with counting units, the last vowel or consonant of each number will disappear. So 하나 is 1, but 1 o'clock is 1시. When 하나 meets the counting unit 시, the last vowel 아 disappears. 둘 is 2, but 2 o'clock is 2시. The last consonant 리을 disappeared. 넷 is 4, but 4 o'clock is 4시. Same thing here. The last consonant siot disappeared. This rule is only for number 1 to 4. Otherwise, it is simply the Korean number plus 시. 10시, 10 o'clock. 7시, 7 o'clock. Now that you know how to say the hour, let's say the minute. The counter for minutes in Korean is 분. Be sure to use a Chinese-based number with this counter. Do you know how to say 3:10 in Korean? It's just 3시 10분. 3 in native numbers, plus the word for hour. 3시. Then 10 in Chinese numbers, 10. And finally the word for minutes, 분. 3시 10분. A little confusing, right? Don't worry, you will get the hang of it soon enough. Just remember that for hours we use Korean numbers, and for minutes we use Chinese numbers. Now it's time for Amy's insights. Here are some other suffixes used to count things. 명 for people, 한 명, 두 명. 번 for the number of times something happens. 한 번, 두 번. In the next lesson, we're finally going to break 10 and learn the numbers from 11 to 100. You definitely don't want to miss it. So join us next time for more 3분 한국어. 다음에 또 만나요. 여러분 안녕하세요. Amy예요. Hi everybody, I'm Amy. Welcome back to KoreanClass101.com's 3분 한국어, the fastest, easiest, and most fun way to learn Korean. 2 lessons ago, we learned to count from 1 to 10 using Chinese numbers. In the last lesson, we learned the whole other way to count from 1 to 10 using native Korean numbers. Do you remember all these numbers? Let's see if you can recall the native ones first. 하나, 둘, 셋, 넷, 다섯, 여섯, 일곱, 여덟, 아홉, 열. Great job! And how about the Chinese numbers? Do you remember those? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Phew, that's a lot of numbers. But I bet you're wondering what comes next, right? Well, if you think about it, 11 is just 10 plus 1. How would you say that in Korean? No need to overthink it. 10, 10 plus 1, 1 equals 11. So 11 is 11. And how about 12? 10, 10 plus 2 equals 12. So 12 is 12. Seem too easy to be true? It's not. And it doesn't get any harder when you hit 20. 20 is really just 2 tens. Multiply 2e by 10, 10 to get 20, 20. Just as you'd expect. 30 is 30, 40 is 40, and so on. Now that you know how to count tens, you can make it all the way to 99. For example, I bet you can tell me the Korean word for 87, even though we haven't counted nearly that high yet. Can you? First, we need to say 80. 80 is 8 tens, so 80 is 80. Finally, say the word for 7. 7. 87 is 87. Let's learn one more word. The Korean word for 100 is 100. 100. Can you guess how to say 150 in Korean? 100 is 100 and 50 is 50. So 150 is? That's right, it's 150. And I'm sure you can figure out how to say 250. 250. Great job! Now it's time for Amy's insights. You just learned how to count above 10 for Chinese numbers, but it works the exact same way for native numbers. 11 is 열하나, 열 is 10, and 하나 is 1. 12 is 열둘, 열 is 10, and 둘 is 2, and so on. In the next lesson, we're going to learn the handy phrase 얼마예요? Do you know what it means? We'll see this phrase and many others that will help you shop. I'll be waiting for you in our next 3분 한국어 lesson. 안녕히 계세요. 다음에 봐요.
Hi everyone. Welcome to Ask Kjin. My name is Kjin. 안녕하세요, Kjin입니다. In this series, I'll answer your Korean questions. So if you have any questions, please let me know by clicking the link in the description. Or you can go to koreanclass101.com/ask-kjin. So ask me any questions. Today I picked questions related to similar Korean words. Here's the first question. What's the difference between 벌써 and 이미? 벌써 and 이미. Both of them means already. So something was done already a long time ago or before the present. But 벌써 has another meaning, which means so soon, more quickly than you thought. So for example, someone is saying 나 집에 가야 해. It means I've gotta go home. 나 집에 가야 해. 나 집에 가야 해. I've gotta go home. And you can say, 벌써? Already? That's much earlier than I thought. 벌써? So this is a big difference. Both of them means already, but 벌써 has another meaning, like so soon. Here's the second question. What's the difference between 좋다 and 좋아하다? 좋다 and 좋아하다. The big difference is this. 좋다 is an adjective and 좋아하다 is a verb. So 좋다 is an adjective, meaning to be good, 좋다. And it also means to be fond of. That's why sometimes people think 좋다 means exactly same as 좋아하다, the verb meaning to like. But please remember, 좋다 is an adjective and 좋아하다 is the verb. And second difference is this, the particle. Yes. 좋아하다 and 좋다, they use different particle. Before 좋다, you use a particle 이 or 가. And before 좋아하다, you use a particle 을 or 를. Here's an example. I like fruits, by the way. So, 포도가 좋아요. 포도가 좋아요. And 포도, it means grapes. And 가, the particle. And 좋아요 is exactly same as 좋다. But 좋다 is a dictionary form. It's the root form is infinitive. And 좋아요 is polite spoken form. And it's a present tense. So 포도가 좋아요 means I like grapes or I'm fond of grapes. 포도가 좋아요. Or can also say 감이 좋아요. 감 means a persimmon. 감. And 이 is a particle and 좋아요 means to be fond of or like. Do you see this particle? I'm using 가 here and I use 이 here. It's because 포도, this is a noun ending with a vowel. So I use 가 here. And 감 is persimmon. And it's a noun ending with consonant. So I'm using the particle 이. So you use some noun and after that you use a particle depending on what it ends with. And use 좋아요. So 포도가 좋아요. 감이 좋아요. And if I want to use 좋아하다 with exactly the same words, I will say 포도를 좋아해요. Again, 좋아요 is the present tense is spoken, polite spoken form of 좋아하다, which is the dictionary form of to like. 포도를 좋아해요. 감을 좋아해요. I like persimmons. 감을 좋아해요. So I use 를 here because 포도 ended with a vowel. I use 을 here because 감 ended with consonant. So 포도가 좋아요 and 포도를 좋아해요. This means exactly the same, but you just need to use different particles. Then you might be wondering, teacher, you said 좋다 can also mean to be good or to be fond of. How can I know which one is meant? Well, you see the context. So when I see 포도가 좋아요, well, you can guess. Oh, I'm talking about grapes because I like it. 포도가 좋아요. Or I'm showing you 포도 and it has good quality. Then I might be saying, the quality of 포도, the grapes, is very good today. So it depending on the context. You can clearly see the context very easily, so don't worry about this. Here's the last question of the day. What is the difference between 다시 and 또? 다시 and 또? Well, both of them means again. So something happening again, once again. But 다시 has some meaning, some nuance. You do something all over again from the scratch. 다시. And 또, you do something again additionally. So that's the difference. 다시, all over again. 또, again additionally. For example, you are asking me a question. What is homework in Korean? What is homework? So I'm saying, homework in Korean, that's 숙제. It means homework, 숙제. And you are saying, please write it again using 다시, using 다시. As in, 다시 써주세요. 다시, again, 써 is from 쓰다, meaning to write. And 주세요 means please. So please write it again. 다시 써주세요. If you say 다시 써주세요, then I will do this. Oh, okay. All over again. 숙제 is 숙제. Here you are. 숙제 means homework. So this is what I will do. I'll write again, all over again from the scratch. But imagine you use this expression, 또, as in, 또 써주세요. 또, again, 또 써주세요. If you say that, I will do this. Okay, I write it again. 숙제, additionally. So I'm writing it again, additionally, not all over again from the beginning. So 숙제 is homework. And 다시 has a nuance, doing something again, all over again from the scratch. And 또, you do something again, additionally. That's it for this lesson. Today I answered 3 questions about similar Korean words. If you have any other questions, click the link in the description or go to koreanclass101.com/ask-Kjin. Thanks for watching. I'm Kjin and I'll see you on koreanclass101.com. 다음 시간에 봐요.
Hi everybody, Jay here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I'll answer some of your most common Korean questions. The question for this lesson is, why do 입니다 and 합니다 sound like 입니다 and 합니다? If you've just started studying Korean, you may have a little difficulty pronouncing Hangul, the Korean alphabet. You may have also noticed that sometimes the pronunciation of some combinations is different than they might appear on their own. Why? Because Korean has 4 nasal consonant sounds. When the nasal consonant sounds are paired with non-nasal consonant sounds, the pronunciation changes. For example, if you just read the Hangul on their own, you might want to say 입니다 and 합니다. But the correct pronunciations are actually 입니다 and 합니다. The nasal consonant sounds in Korean are 니은, 리을, 미음, and Ieung. If you pair them with a non-nasal consonant sound, for example, 비읍, the pronunciation changes. This makes them easier to pronounce. So if you pair 비읍 with 니은, you can pronounce 비읍 as 미음. Finally, you'll get 입니다 instead of 입니다. Let's do another example. 국물 is the Korean word for soup. The consonant 기역 is for G sound in English, so you can read it as 국. But it's paired with the nasal sound 미음, so it changes the pronunciation from a G sound to an NG sound, and you need to read it as 국물. Just remember that if you see 2 consonants next to each other, check if one of them is nasal. If it is, both of them will have a nasal sound. Pretty interesting, right? I hope that answers the question. Please leave any more questions in the comments below, and I'll try to answer them. See you next time. 다음 시간에 만나요. Hi everybody, Jay here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I'll answer some of your most common Korean questions. The question for this lesson is, how do I use the pronoun you in Korean? Basically, the word 당신 means you in Korean, but it doesn't mean you the same way it does in English. If you're a fan of K-pop or Korean dramas, you'll hear this word a lot. But please be careful. You'll use this pronoun only when you're talking to 2 types of people, those you love and those you hate. If, for example, you say 당신 to your husband or wife, it'll mean something like honey or darling. However, if you're angry, you can also use the pronoun 당신 to initiate conflict with someone. In Korean, as with Japanese, we don't use you so often because it sounds really strong. Instead, people usually use the person's name followed by an honorific suffix such as 씨 to refer to someone they are speaking to in a conversation. For example, 재휘 씨 is like saying Mr. 재휘. Unlike in English though, the 씨 added on the end is natural and conveys respect. People will also use job titles in place of she, such as 선생님. This literally means teacher, but it can also function like Mr. or Mrs. too. Because you or 당신 is so strong in Korean, you can only use it for people you want to direct strong feelings toward. If the person you want to address is someone like a stranger or coworker, it's better to use the honorific suffix she or their job title, as we mentioned earlier. If you want to address a group of people, you can use the word 여러분, meaning everyone. I hope that clears things up. Pretty interesting, right? Do you have any more questions? Leave them in the comments below and I'll try to answer them. See you next time. 다음 시간에 만나요. Hi everybody, Jay here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I'll answer some of your most common Korean questions. The question for this lesson is, why do Korean people drop particles when they are speaking? Particles are a pretty big challenge for Korean learners, but don't worry. Koreans actually drop them a lot of the time. Let's use 나는 이 음식이 좋아요 as an example. 나는 이 음식이 좋아요 means I like this food in Korean. In this sentence, 는 and 이 are the particles. But when you hear a native Korean speaker say this sentence, he or she will usually just say 나 이 음식 좋아요 without the particles. You don't need them to make the meaning of the sentence clear. Here's another example. If you want to comment on someone's height, you could say 그 사람은 키가 커요, which means he's tall. However, if you want to sound more natural, you can say 그 사람 키 커요. Here, the particles 은 and 가 are omitted. Please remember though, in formal situations, it's best to use the particles. Although it does sound more natural to omit them when talking to friends, you'll want to be careful with your boss or teachers. Learning the particles is important for understanding sentence structure in Korean, but once you've mastered them, you may want to practice leaving them out. See how you sound. I hope that clears things up. Pretty interesting, right? Do you have any more questions? Leave them in the comments below and I'll try to answer them. See you next time. 다음 시간에 만나요. Hi everybody, Jay here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I'll answer some of your most common Korean questions. The question for this lesson is, why does 기억 sometimes sound like kiuk? Many Korean learners wonder why some Korean consonants don't sound like their English equivalents. Have you ever wondered why 기억 sometimes sound like 그 and not 그, or why 디귿 sometimes sound like 트 instead of 드? It's because some consonants change their sounds depending on their location in the sentence. For example, the consonants 기억, 디귿, 비읍, and 치읓 are pronounced more strongly when they are at the beginning of a word. This is similar to their aspirated pairs 키읔, 티읕, 피읕, and 치읓. Aspirated describes that strong puff of breath that is used on some words. You can hear it on the P's and the words pet and pin in English. Let's break it down with the word 가방, which means bag. Usually, the consonant 기억 sounds like an English G. However, if it's at the beginning of the word, it takes on the English K sound, 가방. Let's do another example with the word 바다, which means sea. The pronunciation of 비읍 in this word is different than the one in 가방. In this case, the 비읍 is pronounced more like 피읍. Try saying the words 가방 and 바다 out loud and see how you sound. Let's do one more example with the word for bike, 자전거. This word has the letter 치읓 twice, so you can really hear the difference. The first 치읓 has the harder puff of breath, whereas the second 치읓 is a little bit softer. 자전거. Sometimes the sounds can be a little difficult to distinguish, so it's good to separate them into two categories. The hard 기억, 디귿, 비읍, and 치읓 sounds, and the soft 기억, 디귿, 비읍, and 치읓 sounds. How was this lesson? Pretty interesting, right? Do you have any more questions? Leave them in the comments below and I'll try to answer them. See you next time. 다음 시간에 만나요. Hi everybody, Jay here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I answer some of your most common Korean questions. The question for this lesson is the consonant Ieung always silent? Usually, the consonant Ieung works as a placeholder and doesn't have any sound. However, when placed in the 받침 position, which is the final consonant in a Korean word, it has an ng sound. We'll break it down with a few examples. Let's take the word 아이, which means child. In this word, the ieung in each syllable works as a placeholder and only the vowels are pronounced. Another example is the word 강, which means river. Please note that in this case, the ieung is at the end, so the word 강 ends with an ng sound. The last example has ieung in two places, one at the beginning and the other at the end. That word is 왕, which means king. In this case, you don't pronounce the ieung at the beginning of the word. Only say the wa and pronounce the ieung at the end of the word as ng. So all you need to remember is that if the ieung is at the beginning of the word, it has no sound. And if it is at the end of the word, it has an ng sound. It's that simple. How was this lesson? Pretty interesting, right? Do you have any more questions? Leave them in the comments below and I'll try to answer them. See you next time. 다음 시간에 만나요. Hi everybody, Jay here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I'll answer some of the most common Korean questions. The question for this lesson is, how many ways can you say yes in Korean? There are two formal ways to say yes in Korean. The one you might think of first is 네. But actually, the first official standard Korean word for yes is 예. Did you know that 네 only became standard in 1988? Nowadays, people use both. There are also two informal ways to say yes. If you're talking with close friends or people younger than you can use the words 응 and 응 usually sounds cute and typically has a more masculine sound. Let's break it down with some examples so you know which yes to use and when to use it. Say, for example, you're talking to your boss. Your boss asks if you finished the project you've been working on. To answer yes, you can use either 예 or 네. 예 is a little more polite. Let's imagine another scenario where you're talking to a friend. Your friend wants to know if you're going to come over to his house tomorrow. In this case, you can use either 응 or In our last situation, let's imagine you're talking to your mom. She is asking you if you finished your homework yet. Now, some Koreans speak to their parents using polite Korean and some don't. So this answer differs from family to family. In this case, you can use any of the words we've mentioned for yes, depending on the situation. An interesting tip worth noting is that because 예 was the original word for yes in Korean, the older generation tends to use it more. On the other hand, the younger generation tends to use 네, so it's good to know both. How was this lesson? Pretty interesting, right? Do you have any more questions? Leave them in the comments below and I'll try to answer them. See you next time. 다음 시간에 만나요. Hi everybody, Jay here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I answer some of the most common Korean questions. The question for this lesson is, what's the difference between 이에요 and 예요? Both 이에요 and 예요 are used to write the English verb to be. So how do you know which one to use? The answer is actually pretty simple. If the last word of the sentence ends in a consonant, you add 이에요. If the last word ends in a vowel, you use 예요. Let's break it down with some examples so you know which ending to use and when to use it. Let's say you want to introduce your new friend, Minsu. How would you say, this is Minsu? Minsu ends in a vowel, so you'd say 민수 예요 with the 예요 ending. Let's do another example with the word 선물, which means gift or present. Imagine that you bought something for your friend. How would you say it's a gift? Since 선물 ends in a consonant, you say 선물이에요 with the 이에요 ending. One final example will be where you use both. For example, you see a drink on the table and you want to ask, is it juice or water? The Korean word for juice, 주스, ends in a vowel, and the word for water, 물, ends in a consonant. So what do? Here's a hint. You have to ask two questions, one ending in 예요 and the other in 이에요. Do you know the answer? The answer is 주스예요, 물이에요? Remember, even if you make a mistake, you'll still be able to get your point across. However, knowing the difference is a great way to improve how natural you sound in Korean. How was this lesson? Pretty interesting, right? Do you have any more questions? Leave them in the comments below and I'll try to answer them. See you next time. 다음 시간에 만나요. Hi everybody, Jay here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I'll answer some of the most common Korean questions. The question for this lesson is, how do you say the vowels O and U correctly? These two vowels sound similar, so they can be a little tricky to pronounce. The vowel O sounds like a very round O, like in the words oval and orange. The vowel U sounds more likely the U sound in the words moon and room. Let's break it down with some examples so you can hear the difference between O and U more clearly. Let's take the word 공, which means bowl in Korean. 공 has the vowel O, which makes the round O sound. Now, let's take another word 궁, which usually means palace. This word has the U vowel. It's going to have more of an U sound. A good way to practice these vowels is by alternating between them while repeating, like this. 공, 궁, 공, 궁. Can you hear the difference? Let's do one more example. The word 오후, meaning afternoon, has both the O and U vowels. Once you have mastered saying 공 and 궁, try repeating the word 오후 and see how you sound. How was this lesson? Pretty interesting, right? Do you have any more questions? Leave them in the comments below and I'll try to answer them. See you next time. 다음 시간에 만나요. Hi everybody, Jay here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I'll answer some of your most common Korean questions. The question for this lesson is, what is the correct pronunciation of 으? There's no English equivalent for this sound, so it may be a little difficult to pronounce. The vowel 으 has the same tone position as the Korean vowel 우, but the shape of your mouth is wider. You may find it easier to compare it to the E sound in the word broken and eaten, or the O sound in the word button. One insider tip is to pull your lips wide to the sides and expose your bottom teeth as you say 으. It may seem silly at first, but you'll get the hang of it. Let's break it down with some examples so you can understand the pronunciation of 으 more easily. Let's use the word 하늘, meaning sky, as an example. Many people mispronounce the last syllable as 눌, so be careful. Let's say the word 하늘. Another example is the word 크다, which means to be big. Again, be careful with the first syllable. It's not pronounced like 크. Listen one more time. 크다. One last example is the word 가르치다, meaning to teach. One more time, it's not pronounced 가르치다, but 가르치다. Again, this vowel 으 is much wider than the vowel 우. Listen one more time slowly. 가르치다. Because the Korean vowel 으 doesn't exist in English, it can be difficult to distinguish when you hear Korean. please listen carefully to the pronunciation of native speakers to completely understand how this vowel is pronounced. How was it? Pretty interesting, right? Do you have any more questions? Leave them in the comments below and I'll try to answer them. See you next time. 다음 시간에 만나요. Hi everybody, Jay here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I'll answer some of the most common Korean questions. The question for this lesson is, how do you pronounce the consonant real? In Korean, the L and R sounds come from the same underlying consonant real. If you put your tongue in between making an L and making an R, you are almost there. The question is, when does it sound more like R or more like L? If the consonant real is between two vowels, then it'll usually have the English R sound. However, if it is at the beginning or end of the word or precedes a consonant, it'll have more of an English L sound. Let's break it down with some examples so you can clearly hear how to pronounce the consonant real. Let's take the word radio, which means radio. In this word, the consonant real is at the beginning of the word, so it'll have an L sound. Let's do another example with the word 미래, meaning future. Here, the real consonant is between the vowels E and 에, so it'll have more of an R sound. Let's say it together, 미래. Let's do one more example with the L pronunciation. We'll use the word 말, which means word or language. The real consonant is at the end of the word, so it'll be pronounced as L. Let's say it together, 말. Remember that in English, some L sounds are hard, like the L's in ball. In ball, you put some tension in the back of your mouth to make it stronger. In Korean, the L sound is much lighter without any tension. So remembering where not to put the tension, especially at the end of the words, will be really helpful for sounding more natural in Korean. How was this lesson? Pretty interesting, right? Do you have any more questions? Leave them in the comments below and I'll try to answer them. See you next time. 다음 시간에 만나요. Hi everybody, Jay here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I'll answer some of your most common Korean questions. The question for this lesson is, how do I say F and V in Korean? Actually, there are no fu and vu sounds in Korean. In fact, there is no difference between pu and fu or bu and vu. Therefore, the pu and fu sounds are both pronounced as piup and bu and vu as biup. Let's go through some examples so you can learn how to make these sounds in Korean. Let's say your name is Fred. How would you write it in Korean? Since fu corresponds with pu in Korean, you'd write it as 프레드 using piup. Another example would be with the name Victoria. Since vu corresponds with bu, you'd write it as Victoria, changing the vu sound to bu sound. Let's do one more with a tricky name like Joseph. Here, the ph makes an fu sound, so you'll need to use piup, and the name will be written as Joseph. Although the Korean alphabet doesn't distinguish between pu and fu or bu and vu, many Korean people nowadays are learning the differences. So if you have one of these letters in your name, just tell your Korean friends how you'd like your name to be pronounced. And that's it. I hope that clears things up. Please leave any more questions in the comments below and I'll try to answer them. See you next time. 다음 시간에 만나요. Hi everybody, Jay here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I'll answer some of your most common Korean questions. The question for this lesson is, how do you pronounce the consonants Siot and Siot? Sometimes Korean characters change the sound depending on their placement in the word. Siot and Siot are both good examples. Let's go over how to pronounce Siot and Siot correctly. When Siot is at the beginning of a word, it makes an s sound. When it's the final consonant in Korean 받침, it changes to a t sound. When Siot is at the beginning of a word, it makes a s sound. But when it's in the 받침 position, it also changes to a t sound. Let's see some examples so you can hear how they sound. In the Korean word 사랑, which means love, the siot is at the beginning of the word. Therefore, it's pronounced as s. Here's an example with siot as the final consonant. In the word 맛, meaning taste, the siot is in the 받침 position, so it's pronounced as 트. Now, let's take a look at some examples with 쌍시옷. The word 쓰다, which means to write, begins with 쌍시옷, so the beginning of the word has a s sound. Another example would be 있다, which is the Korean word for the verb to be. Here, the 쌍시옷 is in the 받침 position, so it's pronounced as 트. Here's a quick tip. Sometimes the rules for 받침 sounds change, so make sure to check out our 하나하나 한글 videos at koreanclass101.com to find out more about 받침 rules. There you have it. If you have any more questions, please leave them in the comments below and I will try to answer them. See you next time. 다음 시간에 만나요. Hi everybody, Jay here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I'll answer some of your most common Korean questions. The question for this lesson is, what are the differences between the number systems in Korean? There are two number systems in Korean. One is called the native Korean number system, and the other is called the Sino-Korean number system. The native Korean number system is used for general counting, like when you're counting out loud up to 99. It's also used to count people, hours, things, ages, and more. Sino-Korean numbers are used for things like dates, money, minutes, addresses, phone numbers, and numbers above 99. Let's go through some examples so you can understand how to use native Korean numbers and Sino-Korean numbers correctly. Let's say you want to buy 2 apples. Since the number 2 is below 99, you use the native Korean number system. The word apple in Korean is 사과, so 2 apples would be 사과 2개. What if you need a lot more apples? How about 120 apples? Since 120 is above 99, you change to the Sino-Korean number system. So 120 apples in Korean would be 사과 120개. Let's do an example with time. Let's say someone asks you the time and it's 2:35 in the afternoon. How would you answer? It's a little tricky. First, to read the hours, you'll be using the native Korean number and the counter for hours, which is 시. So 2 o'clock will be 2시, using the native Korean number for 2. However, to read the minutes, you'll need the Sino-Korean number and the counter for minutes, 분. So 35 minutes will be 35분, using the Sino-Korean number for 35. Then, put the word for afternoon at the beginning, which is 오후. Altogether, it will be 오후 2시 35분입니다. It's 2:35 in the afternoon. There's no quick and easy way for remembering the rules for when to use which number system. However, there are some basic general guidelines. Learn those and you'll be good for many different situations in Korean. Remember, we have videos on both number systems at koreanclass101.com, so be sure to check them out. How was it? Did I help you clear things up? Please leave any more questions in the comments below and I'll try to answer them. See you next time. 다음 시간에 만나요. Hi everybody, Jay here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I'll answer some of your most common Korean questions. The question for this lesson is, how do I introduce myself in Korean? You can introduce yourself in 3 different ways in Korean. The most polite version, which ends in 입니다. The most common one, which ends in 예요 or 이에요. and the most casual version which ends in ya or iya. Let's see some situations where you need to introduce yourself. Let's say you're at a job interview. In this case, you want to use the most polite version. For example, if I want to say my name is Jae-hwi Lee, using this version, I'll say 이재휘입니다, using 입니다 at the end. It's safe to use this introduction in any formal or professional setting. If you want to be polite but not too formal, you can use the 예요 or 이에요 ending. The ending depends on whether your name ends in a vowel or consonant. Since my name is Jae-hwi, which ends in a vowel, I'll use 예요. So the whole introduction will be Jae-hwi-예요. If your name ends in a consonant, like the common Korean female name Jihyun, then you use the 이에요 ending. Therefore, the whole introduction will be 지현이에요, using 이에요 at the end. This is the most common way to introduce yourself. The last version is really casual, so be careful when you use it. Again, the ending depends on whether your name ends in a vowel or consonant. With my name, Jae-hwi, I'll use the ya ending. Therefore, the whole phrase would sound like Jae-hwi-ya. For the name I mentioned before, Jihyun, she would use the iya ending, so her introduction would sound like 지현이야. You can use this version only when you're absolutely sure that person is younger than you or the same age. However, once you're out of school, it's better to use the more polite forms. And that's it. Just pick the appropriate introduction for your situation. If you have any more questions, please leave them in the comments below and I'll try to answer them. See you next time. 다음 시간에 만나요. Hi everybody, Jay here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I answer some of your most common Korean questions. The question for this lesson is, what are some ways to say goodbye in Korean? In formal Korean, there are two ways to say goodbye. One for the person who is leaving, and the other for the person who is staying. If you're the one leaving, you say 안녕히 계세요, meaning stay well. Then the other person will respond by saying 안녕히 가세요, meaning go well. Let's go through some examples so you can learn how to use 안녕히 계세요 and 안녕히 가세요 correctly. Let's say you're at a restaurant and you've just paid for your meal. As you get up to leave, the restaurant staff says 안녕히 가세요. How do you respond? Since you're the one leaving, you'd say 안녕히 계세요. This time, you've decided to eat at home, so you order delivery. After you get your food, you want to thank the delivery person and say goodbye. First, say the formal Korean word for thank you, which is 감사합니다. Then, since you're the one staying, you say 안녕히 가세요. Let's do one more. Let's say you are invited to a formal gathering and you see some guests leaving. You're going to stay a little longer, so what do you say? That's right. 안녕히 가세요. Now it's a little later and you're ready to go home. What do you say to the host? Right, you say 안녕히 계세요. If you want to say goodbye using informal Korean, you can say 잘 가, which corresponds with 안녕히 가세요, meaning go well, or 잘 있어, which corresponds with 안녕히 계세요, meaning stay well. How was it? Have you got the hang of it now? Please leave any more questions in the comments below and I'll try to answer them. See you next time. 다음 시간에 만나요. Hi everybody, Jay here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I'll answer some of your most common Korean questions. The question for this lesson is, why is 네, meaning you're, sometimes pronounced ni in Korean? 네 is the shortened version of the casual possessive 너희, meaning you're. It often gets pronounced as ni instead of 네 in spoken Korean. For example, how do you say your computer in Korean? even though it's written as 내 컴퓨터, most people pronounce it as 네 컴퓨터. Here's a tricky sentence with some similar sounding words. 이거 내 거야, 내 거야. This means, is this mine or yours? Can you hear the difference between 내 meaning mine and 내 meaning yours? 이거 내 거야, 내 거야. Since it's very difficult to hear and pronounce, many people say 이거 내 거야, 네 거야. So basically, 내 is sometimes pronounced 니 in spoken Korean because it sounds very similar to 내, meaning my. But remember, even though many people pronounce 내 as 니, make sure to use 내 when you write in Korean. I hope that clears things up. If you have any more questions, please leave them in the comments below and I will try to answer them. See you next time. 다음 시간에 만나요. Hi everybody, Jay here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I'll answer some of your most common Korean questions. The question for this lesson is, does yo make everything more polite in Korean? The short answer is yes. With the particle yo, you can make words sound more polite. So how can you make a sentence ending with yo? Here are some rules. First, let's do a very simple one. When the verb stem ends in a vowel like the ka in 가다, meaning to go, you can simply replace 다 with yo. We don't need any additional particles. However, when the verb stem ends in a consonant like 놀 in 놀다, meaning to play, we need the extra vowel 아 before yo to say 놀아요. But that's not all. In Korean, we have some vowels called negative vowels. For example, u, and 으. When the last vowel of the word is a negative one, you will need to use instead of 아. Here's an example. 먹 is the verb stem of the verb 먹다, meaning to eat. The verb stem ends in a consonant, so you might think you need to add 아 and say 먹어요 to make it polite. However, this is not correct. Remember, we also need to check the last vowel, and this time the last vowel of the verb stem is which is negative. So you need to say 먹어요 using Sounds complicated, right? Don't worry. As you hear more verbs with the yo particle, it will come more naturally to you. Let's do one more example because we have one final rule for using the particle yo. A lot of Korean verbs are made with 하다, meaning to do. For example, 공부하다, meaning to study. When you want to make a 하다 verb polite, just replace 하다 with 해요. So 공부하다 becomes 공부해요. Since there are so many 하다 verbs in Korean, you can practice with the 하다 verbs first. Then you only have 2 more conjugation rules to master. Is this still confusing? You get the hang of it with more practice. If you have any more questions, please leave them in the comments below and I'll try to answer them. See you next time. 다음 시간에 만나요. Hi everybody, Jay here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I'll answer some of your most common Korean questions. The question for this lesson is, how do I use 은 and 는? 은 and 는 are called topic marking particles and are placed after noun to specify what's being discussed. Using a topic marking particle is one way to designate a noun as the subject of a sentence. The main functions of 은 and 는 are to bring attention to remind the listener about the topic, to clarify the topic, or to contrast 2 items. You can use 는 when the previous syllabic block ends in a vowel, and 은 when the previous syllabic block ends in a consonant. Let's take a look at some examples so you can learn how to use 은 and 는 correctly. When there's not a specific topic being talked about in a conversation, a topic marking particle can be used to bring attention to what the speaker wants to talk about. For example, 한국어 공부는 좋아하세요? Meaning, do you like studying Korean? Here, the speaker draws attention to the topic of Korean study. If a topic has already been introduced in the conversation, you don't need to mention it again. However, if the speaker wishes to clarify what's being spoken about, a topic marking particle is used to clarify the topic of the sentence. From our previous example about studying, we can say 한국어 공부는 재미있어요. Studying Korean is fun. A topic marking particle can also be used to contrast items. 저는 한국어 공부가 재미있어요. Literally, as for me, studying Korean is fun. Another person might respond, 저는 영어 공부가 재미있어요. As for me, studying English is fun. These sentences use the topic marking particle to contrast the other person who is interested in studying a different language. That's it. I hope that answers your question. Please leave any more questions in the comments below and I'll try to answer them. See you next time. 다음 시간에 만나요.
Trying to learn Korean? Get the lessons that are perfect for you. Click here to get your free lifetime account.
Hi everybody, Jay here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I'll answer some of your most common Korean questions. The question for this lesson is, how do I use 은 and 는? 은 and 는 are called topic marking particles and are placed after noun to specify what's being discussed. Using a topic marking particle is one way to designate a noun as the subject of a sentence. The main functions of 은 and 는 are to bring attention to remind the listener about the topic, to clarify the topic, or to contrast two items. You can use 는 when the previous syllabic block ends in a vowel, and 은 when the previous syllabic block ends in a consonant. Let's take a look at some examples so you can learn how to use 은 and 는 correctly. When there's not a specific topic being talked about in a conversation, a topic marking particle can be used to bring attention to what the speaker wants to talk about. For example, 한국어 공부는 좋아하세요? Meaning, do you like studying Korean? Here, the speaker draws attention to the topic of Korean study. If a topic has already been introduced in the conversation, you don't need to mention it again. However, if the speaker wishes to clarify what's being spoken about, a topic marking particle is used to clarify the topic of the sentence. From our previous example about studying, we can say 한국어 공부는 재미있어요. Studying Korean is fun. A topic marking particle can also be used to contrast items. 저는 한국어 공부가 재미있어요. Literally, as for me, studying Korean is fun. Another person might respond, 저는 영어 공부가 재미있어요. As for me, studying English is fun. These sentences use the topic marking particle to contrast the other person who is interested in studying a different language. That's it. I hope that answers your question. Please leave any more questions in the comments below and I'll try to answer them. See you next time. 다음 시간에 만나요. Hi everybody, Jay here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I'll answer some of your most common Korean questions. The question for this lesson is, how do I use 이 and 가? The subject marking particles 이 and 가 are used to mark the subject of a sentence. These are used when a subject is being introduced for the first time. 이 is used if the subject ends in a consonant, and 가 is used if the subject ends in a vowel. Let's do some examples so you can learn how to use the subject marking particles correctly. Let's use 여기가 제 집입니다, meaning here's my house, as an example. In this sentence, we use the subject marking particle 가 next to the noun 여기, meaning here, to mark the noun 여기 as the subject of this sentence. Let's do another example. When you meet someone for the first time, you may ask, 이름이 무엇입니까? What's your name? Here, we use the subject marking particle 이 next to the noun 이름, meaning name. This is because the topic, his or her name, is being introduced for the first time. There are certain verbs that use the subject marking particles as part of a set. Some common verbs are 아니다, 있다, and 없다, which mean not, to exist, and not to exist, respectively. Generally speaking, whenever the verbs 아니다, 있다, and 없다 are used in the sentence marking particle is used as well to mark what exists and what doesn't exist. For example, 학생이 아닙니다, meaning I'm not a student. An important thing to remember is that Korean often contains double subjects, with one being marked by the topic marker and the other marked by the subject marker. For example, 저는 학생이 아닙니다, meaning I'm not a student. It has two subjects, 저, meaning I, and 학생, meaning student. The topic of the sentence is 저, meaning I, so it uses 는, the topic marking particle. 학생, student, is the subject, so it uses the subject marking particle 이. This can be translated as for me, I'm not a student. And that's it. I hope that helps. If you have any more questions, please leave them in the comments below and I'll try to answer them. See you next time. 다음 시간에 만나요. Hi everybody, Jay here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I'll answer some of the most common Korean questions. The question for this lesson is, how do I use 을 and 를? We use the object marking particles 을 and 를 to mark the object of a sentence when it's attached to a noun. We attach 을 to nouns that end in consonants and attach 를 to nouns that end in vowels. Let's do some examples so you can learn how to use 을 and 를 correctly. Let's use the sentence 그들은 서울을 잘 모릅니다 as an example. It literally means they don't know Seoul that well. Here, Seoul acts as the object of this sentence. The word ends in a consonant, so we'll use the object marking particle 을. Let's do one that ends in a vowel. 저는 한국어를 잘 합니다. Literally, I'm good in Korean. But more naturally, my Korean is good. Here, the object 한국어, Korean, ends in a vowel, so we need to use 를. Let's do another example with a consonant. Take 저는 그들을 잘 압니다, meaning I know them well. In this sentence, you can use the object marking particle 을 because the pronoun 그들, meaning they, ends in a consonant. How was it? Hope that clears things up. If you have any more questions, please leave them in the comments below and I will try to answer them. See you next time. 다음 시간에 만나요. Hi everybody, Jay here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I'll answer some of the most common Korean questions. The question for this lesson is, how do I use 에 and 에서? In English, you use words such as at, in, on, to, and from to talk about location. In Korean, you need location marking particles when giving directions or talking about where something is. The particle 에 can be translated as at, to, on, or in, depending on the context. The particle 에서 can also mean at, in, or from, and marks where an action is performed or a temporary point of departure. Let's do some examples so you can learn how to use 에 and 에서 correctly. Let's use the sentence 저는 집에 있습니다, meaning I am at home. In this sentence, the particle 에 indicates the location where I exist. The particle is located right after the noun 집 to indicate the location. Let's do an example using an action. 저는 한국에서 일합니다, meaning I work in Korea. Here, the particle 에서 is used to mark the location of an action, which is 한국, Korea. Let's do one more example using temporary point of departure, which can be translated as from. 그는 방금 외국에서 돌아왔습니다, meaning he just came back from abroad. Here, the particle 에서 is marking where he is coming from, which is 외국, abroad. If it's still a little confusing, just remember this. Place, plus 에서, meaning in or at, marks the location of an action. Okay, I hope that makes more sense now. Please leave any more questions in the comments below and I'll try to answer them. See you next time. 다음 시간에 만나요. Hi everybody, Jay here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I'll answer some of the most common Korean questions. The question for this lesson is, how do I use 명 and 분 correctly when counting in Korean? In Korea, formality is really important. Therefore, even words for counting or counters can serve as honorifics in Korean. For example, 명 is a counter used to refer to people. However, when you're talking about people who are older or of a high status, you should use 분. It's an honorific counter used to refer to people. Let's do some examples so you can learn how to use 명 and 분 correctly. When you go into a restaurant, a staff member will probably ask you how many to check how many people you'll be dining with. In Korean, you'll be asked either 몇 명이세요 or 몇 분이세요. Of course, the latter is more formal and polite. Then, how should we respond? Can you also use either 명 or 분? The answer is no. You can only use 명. This is because you're referring to yourself and the group that you're a part of. You should only use honorifics to show respect to others. Let's do one more example. Which counter should you use to say there are 40 people in my company? Since you're referring to yourself and your workplace, you need to use 명. Therefore, you say 우리 회사에는 40명이 있습니다. How was this lesson? I hope that clears things up. Please leave any more questions in the comments below and I'll try to answer them. See you next time. 다음 시간에 만나요. Hi everybody, Jay here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I'll answer some of your most common Korean questions. The question for this lesson is, why does Korean have two words for my? The word 저희 literally means of I or mine. It has two words. 저 means I, and 의 is the possessive particle meaning something like of. 제 is the simplified form of the word 저희. In normal daily conversation, Koreans use 제 instead of 저희. If you want to make your sentence more casual, you can also use the word 네. 네 is the simplified version of the word 나, meaning I, and 의, the possessive particle. Let's do some examples so you can learn how to use each word for my correctly. When you introduce yourself at a job interview, you should use 제. For example, 제 이름은 이재휘입니다. My name is Jae Lee. However, if one of your close friends introduces you to a new friend, you can use the casual one, 네. 내 이름은 이재휘야. I'm Jae Lee. Let's say you want to introduce your younger sister to your friend. If you're introducing her to someone younger than you, you'd say 내 여동생이야. It's my younger sister. Or if you're introducing her to someone older or your superior, you should use the humble form of mine and say 제 여동생이에요. One more thing. Did you notice how formal sentence endings 입니다 and 요 pair with 제? Please remember to use the formal sentence endings when you use the word 제 to an elderly or superior. How was this lesson? Pretty interesting, right? Please leave any more questions in the comments below and I'll try to answer them. See you next time. 다음 시간에 만나요. Hi everybody, Jay here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I'll answer some of the most common Korean questions. The question for this lesson is, when should I use the humble form of verbs in Korean? There are some verbs in Korean that have humble forms and don't sound like their casual counterparts. We use these verbs when we refer to ourselves in formal situations. Two examples are 들이다 and 여쭈다. These two verbs are used instead of 주다 and 묻다 for to give and to ask respectively. Let's do some examples so you can learn how to use the humble forms of these verbs correctly. Let's say you want to ask a professor a question. How do you say, I'd like to ask you something? To show respect to your professor, you should use the humble form of to ask, 여쭈다, and say, 뭐 좀 여쭐게요. 좀 is another verb that makes your sentence sound softer. It sounds more polite than saying, 뭐 좀 물어볼게요, because it uses the humble verb. Let's do another example. Now, you want to ask whether or not your classmate has turned in a group report. How do you say, did you give it to the professor? Here, even though you're talking to your friend, you're talking about the professor. So you still need to use the humble form and say, 교수님 드렸어? Did you give it to the professor? Here's a challenge. How can you say to your friend, give it to me, I'll give it to the professor? That's right. We need both 주다 and 드리다 for these sentences. 주다 for the first sentence and 드리다 for the second sentence. So you'll get 나 줘, 내가 교수님 드릴게, meaning give it to me, I'll give it to the professor. How was this lesson? I hope that clears things up. If you have any more questions, please leave them in the comments below and I'll try to answer them. See you next time. 다음 시간에 만나요. Hi everybody, Jay here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I'll answer some of your most common Korean questions. The question for this lesson is, why do Korean people sometimes use 우리, meaning our, when they actually mean my? Korean people sometimes use the word 우리, meaning our, instead of my, when talking about a group that he or she is a part of. For example, my family, 우리 가족. It literally means our family. And the list goes on, for example, 우리 엄마, my mom, or literally our mom. Korean people use the word 우리 when talking about a group that he or she is strongly attached to, like a family member. Let's do some examples so you can learn how to use 우리 correctly. Let's say you want to introduce your coworker to your friend. You would say, 우리 회사 동료야. This is my coworker. 우리 회사 literally means our company, but you and your friend do not work at the same company. So what you actually mean is my company. By saying 우리 회사, you express a sense of belonging. Let's do another example. Let's say someone asks you how many people are in your family. If there are 4 people in your family, you say 우리 가족은 4명입니다. There are 4 people in my family, or literally, there are 4 people in our family. This use of our doesn't mean that the speaker and the listener are siblings. The speaker uses 우리 because he or she feels strongly attached to his or her family. Let's do one more example. Say you have a best friend named Mark, and Mark has a brother named Andy, whom you're also close with. In this case, you can refer to Andy as 우리 Andy and as Mark, 우리 Andy는 지금 뭐해? Meaning, what is Andy doing now? Or literally, what is our Andy doing now? This is to show your close friendship with Andy. You can also use 우리 when referring to things you're particularly attached to, such as 우리 집, my home, and 우리 차, my car. Try using 우리 the next time you talk to your Korean friends and see how you sound. How was it? I hope that helps. Please leave any more questions in the comments below and I'll try to answer them. See you next time. 다음 시간에 만나요.
Welcome to Can Do Korean by KoreanClass101.com.
안녕하세요 여러분, 김소피입니다. Hi everyone, I'm Sophie Kim. In this lesson, you will learn how to introduce yourself in Korean.
This is Mark Morris. He's on a plane to Korea. Mingyu Moon, a passenger sitting next to him, introduces himself by saying, "Hello, I'm Mingyu Moon. Nice to meet you."
안녕하세요. 저는 문민규입니다. 반갑습니다.
Listen to the conversation and focus on Mark's response. Note, the speakers in this conversation use formal Korean. Ready?
안녕하세요. 저는 문민규입니다. 반갑습니다.
안녕하세요. 저는 모리스 마크입니다. 반갑습니다.
Once more with the English translation.
안녕하세요. 저는 문민규입니다. 반갑습니다.
Hello, I'm Mingyu Moon. Nice to meet you.
안녕하세요. 저는 모리스 마크입니다. 반갑습니다.
Hello, I'm Mark Morris. Nice to meet you.
Let's take a closer look at Mark's response.
Do you remember how Mark Morris introduces himself? Hello, I'm Mark Morris. Nice to meet you.
안녕하세요. 저는 모리스 마크입니다. 반갑습니다.
First is,
안녕하세요.
meaning hello.
안녕하세요. 안녕하세요.
This phrase is usually the first thing someone says when making a self-introduction in Korean.
안녕하세요.
Before we look at how Mark introduces his name, let's look at the last part of Mark's response. The phrase is,
반갑습니다.
this literally means happy to meet you, but translates as nice to meet you.
반갑습니다. 반갑습니다.
Do you remember how Mark says, I'm Mark Morris?
저는 모리스 마크입니다.
First is,
저,
meaning I.
저.
This is the humble word for I. Next is,
는,
the topic marking particle.
는.
It marks I as the topic of this sentence. Think of it like as for in the expression as for me. Together, it's
저는,
as for me.
저는.
Next is Mark Morris's name. Notice the name order. First is Mark's family name,
모리스,
Morris.
모리스.
Followed by his first name,
마크,
Mark.
마크.
Together, it's
모리스 마크,
Morris Mark.
모리스 마크.
In Korean, the order is family name first, followed by given names. Mingyu Moon also uses this name order when he says
문민규,
family name Moon, followed by given name Mingyu. Last is,
입니다.
in this case, it's like the am in I am.
입니다.
Is the formal form of the verb,
이다.
meaning to be. Altogether, it's
저는 모리스 마크입니다.
This literally means, as for me, Morris Mark, I am. But it translates as I'm Mark Morris.
저는 모리스 마크입니다.
The pattern is
저는 name입니다.
I'm name.
저는 name입니다.
To use this pattern, simply replace the name placeholder with your name. Imagine you're Karen Morris.
카렌, 모리스, 카렌, 모리스, 카렌, 모리스.
Say, I'm Karen Morris. Use Korean name order. Family name first, followed by given name. Ready?
저는 모리스 카렌입니다.
I'm Karen Morris.
저는 모리스 카렌입니다.
Note, there are two versions of the topic marking particle.
Then follows words that end in the vowel. N follows words that end in a consonant. Let's look at some examples. Vowels. In the dialogue, then follows 저, as 저 ends in a vowel. 저는 as for me. 저는. Consonants. In the case of words that end in consonants, like 오늘, meaning today, 은 follows. 오늘은, 오늘은.
Let's look at some examples. Listen and repeat or speak along with the native speakers.
안녕하세요. 저는 문민규입니다. 반갑습니다. 안녕하세요. 저는 문민규입니다. 반갑습니다.
안녕하세요. 저는 모리스 마크입니다. 반갑습니다. 안녕하세요. 저는 모리스 마크입니다. 반갑습니다.
안녕하세요. 저는 모리스 카렌입니다. 반갑습니다. 안녕하세요. 저는 모리스 카렌입니다. 반갑습니다.
안녕하세요. 저는 김소피입니다. 반갑습니다. 안녕하세요. 저는 김소피입니다. 반갑습니다.
안녕하세요. 심선영입니다. 반갑습니다. 안녕하세요. 심선영입니다. 반갑습니다.
Did you notice how the last speaker omits 저는?
She says,
심선영입니다.
I'm Sun Young Shim.
심선영입니다.
She omits
저는
and says her name,
심선영입니다.
followed by. In Korean, when the context is clear, the speaker often omits the topic. In this case, it's clear the speaker is talking about herself. The pattern is
name입니다.
I'm name.
name입니다.
Do you remember my introduction at the start of the lesson? 김소피입니다. I'm Sophie Kim. 김소피입니다.
This is shortened in the same way, by omitting.
저는
You should be aware of this shortcut But for this lesson, we'll use the pattern.
저는 name입니다.
I'm name.
저는 name입니다. Let's review. Respond to the prompts by speaking aloud. Then, repeat after me, focusing on pronunciation. Ready? Do you remember how to say hello? 안녕하세요. 안녕하세요. And how to say nice to meet you. 반갑습니다. 반갑습니다. Do you remember how to say I? 저. And how to say as for me. 저는. Do you remember how Mark Murray says his name? 모리스 마크. And how Mark Murray says, I'm Mark Maurice. 저는 모리스 마크입니다. 저는 모리스 마크입니다. Do you remember how Mark Maurice says, Hello, I'm Mark Maurice. Nice to meet you.
안녕하세요. 저는 모리스 마크입니다. 반갑습니다.
안녕하세요. 저는 모리스 마크입니다. 반갑습니다. And do you remember how Mingyu Moon says, Hello, I'm Mingyu Moon. Nice to meet you.
안녕하세요. 저는 문민규입니다. 반갑습니다.
안녕하세요. 저는 문민규입니다. 반갑습니다.
Let's practice. Imagine you're.
모리스 카렌.
Respond to Mingyu Moon's self-introduction. Ready?
안녕하세요. 저는 문민규입니다. 반갑습니다.
안녕하세요. 저는 모리스 카렌입니다. 반갑습니다.
Listen again and repeat.
안녕하세요. 저는 모리스 카렌입니다. 반갑습니다. 안녕하세요. 저는 모리스 카렌입니다. 반갑습니다.
Let's try another. Imagine you're.
심선영.
Ready?
안녕하세요. 저는 문민규입니다. 반갑습니다.
안녕하세요. 저는 심선영입니다. 반갑습니다.
Listen again and repeat.
안녕하세요. 저는 심선영입니다. 반갑습니다. 안녕하세요. 저는 심선영입니다. 반갑습니다.
Let's try one more. Imagine you're
김소피.
ready?
안녕하세요. 저는 문민규입니다. 반갑습니다.
안녕하세요. 저는 김소피입니다. 반갑습니다.
Listen again and repeat.
안녕하세요. 저는 김소피입니다. 반갑습니다. 안녕하세요. 저는 김소피입니다. 반갑습니다. When introducing yourself as a Korean learner, use the name or name order with which you'd like to be addressed. For example, you might want to share only your given name. 저는 카렌입니다. I'm Karen. 저는 카렌입니다. Or you might want to give your given name followed by your family name. 저는 카렌 모리스입니다. I'm Karen Maurice. 저는 카렌 모리스입니다. This is the end of this lesson.
Remember, these can-do lessons are about learning practical language skills. What's next? Show us what you can do. When you're ready, take your assessment. You can take it again and again, so try anytime you like. Our teachers will assess it and give you your results.
Well done! Now you know how to introduce yourself in Korean. That's all there is to it. Keep practicing and move on to the next lesson. This is the end of this lesson.
Now, here's what you can do to cement this conversation in your head. Review the conversation with our dialogue tool and lesson transcripts. Study the key words and phrases with our spaced repetition flashcards. Review the key grammar and cultural tips inside the lesson notes. And test yourself with our assessment tests. So click the link in the description right now and sign up for your free lifetime account to access our Can-Do course.
Well done! Now you know how to introduce yourself in Korean. That's all there is to it. Keep practicing and move on to the next lesson.
Welcome to Can-Do Korean by KoreanClass101.com.
안녕하세요 여러분, 김소피입니다. Hi everyone, I'm Sophie Kim. In this lesson, you will learn how to tell someone where you're from in Korean.
This is Mark Morris. He's on a plane to Korea. Min-Gyu Moon, a passenger sitting next to him, asks, Mark, where are you from?
마크 씨는 어디에서 왔어요?
Listen to the conversation and focus on Mark's response. Note, the speakers in this conversation use polite Korean. Ready?
마크 씨는 어디에서 왔어요?
뉴욕에서 왔어요.
Once more with the English translation.
마크 씨는 어디에서 왔어요?
Mark, where are you from?
뉴욕에서 왔어요.
I'm from New York.
Let's take a closer look at the conversation.
Do you remember how Mingyu Moon asks, Mark, where are you from?
마크 씨는 어디에서 왔어요?
First is
마크 씨,
Mark.
마크 씨,
This starts with Mark's name.
마크,
Mark.
마크, 마크,
After this is
씨,
a polite suffix attached to a person's name.
씨, 씨, 씨,
Is commonly used amongst people of equal social status, age, or position. This suffix can be used with any gender and can be attached to a person's given name or their full name, but not the last name alone. Together,
마크 씨,
Mark.
마크 씨,
Next is the particle,
는,
the topic marking particle.
는, 는,
Here,
는,
indicates that Mark is the topic of the sentence. Think of it like as for in the expression as for Mark. In Korean, it's impolite to refer to someone as you. Using the person's name is considered more indirect and therefore more polite. Together, it's
마크 씨는,
as for Mark.
마크 씨는,
Note, there are two forms of the topic marking particle.
는,
Follows words that end in a vowel, such as in.
마크 씨,
Next is the word
어디,
where.
어디, 어디,
After this is the particle,
에서,
the location marking particle.
에서, 에서,
In this sentence, think of it as the from, as in, where are you from? Next is,
왔어요,
which means you came, as in, you came from.
왔어요, 왔어요,
Note, the word you is understood from context, as the speaker is asking a question.
왔어요,
Comes from the verb
오다,
meaning to come, as in, to come from.
오다.
Altogether,
마크 씨는 어디에서 왔어요?
this literally means, as for Mark, where from you came. But it translates as, Mark, where are you from?
마크 씨는 어디에서 왔어요?
Remember this question. You'll hear it again later in this lesson.
Now, let's take a closer look at the response.
Do you remember how Mark Morris says, I'm from New York?
뉴욕에서 왔어요.
First is
뉴욕,
New York.
뉴욕, 뉴욕,
After this is
에서,
the location marking particle.
에서,
It marks
뉴욕,
New York as the location that's relevant to the action of the sentence. Think of it as the from, as in from New York.
뉴욕에서
This is followed by
왔어요,
I came, as in I came from.
왔어요, 왔어요,
Note, the word I is understood from context, as Mark is answering a question.
왔어요,
Is from the verb
오다,
meaning to come.
오다.
Altogether, it's
뉴욕에서 왔어요.
This literally means New York from I came, but it translates as I came from New York.
뉴욕에서 왔어요.
The pattern is
홈타운에서 왔어요.
I'm from hometown.
홈타운에서 왔어요.
To use this pattern, simply replace hometown with your hometown. Imagine you're from Seattle.
시애틀, 시애틀, 시애틀.
Say, I'm from Seattle.
시애틀에서 왔어요.
I'm from Seattle.
시애틀에서 왔어요.
Pronunciation note. Listen to New York and the location marking particle pronounced separately.
뉴욕,
New York.
뉴욕. 에서,
The location marking particle.
에서.
Now listen to the New York followed by the location marking particle.
뉴욕에서, 뉴욕에서.
Notice the difference? The last consonant in
뉴욕,
blends with the vowel in.
에서. 뉴욕에서, 뉴욕에서.
Let's look at some examples. Listen and repeat, or speak along with the native speakers.
뉴욕에서 왔어요. 뉴욕에서 왔어요.
평창에서 왔어요. 평창에서 왔어요.
시애틀에서 왔어요. 시애틀에서 왔어요.
런던에서 왔어요. 런던에서 왔어요.
서울에서 왔어요. 서울에서 왔어요.
호주에서 왔어요. 호주에서 왔어요.
Did you notice the last speaker says a country name in place of a city name?
호주에서 왔어요.
I'm from Australia.
호주에서 왔어요.
You can use this pattern to talk about your country, not just your hometown. In the example, the speaker is from
호주,
Australia.
호주, 호주.
This pattern is
home country에서 왔어요.
I'm from home country.
home country에서 왔어요.
You should be aware of this pattern, but for this lesson, we'll use city names. Let's review the key vocabulary.
평창,
Pyeongchang,
평창, 평창. 런던,
London,
런던, 런던. 서울,
Seoul,
서울, 서울.
Let's review. Respond to the prompts by speaking aloud. Then repeat after me, focusing on pronunciation. Ready? Do you remember how to say New York? 뉴욕, 뉴욕. And how to say from New York. 뉴욕에서, 뉴욕에서. Do you remember how Mark says, I'm from New York?
뉴욕에서 왔어요.
뉴욕에서 왔어요. Do you remember how to say where? 어디, 어디. And how Mingyu-moon addresses Mark? 마크 씨, 마크 씨. Do you remember how Mingyu asks Mark, where are you from?
마크 씨는 어디에서 왔어요?
마크 씨는 어디에서 왔어요? Do you remember how to say London? 런던, 런던. And how to say Seattle? 시애틀, 시애틀. Do you remember how to say Seoul? 서울, 서울.
Let's practice. Imagine you're Jack Jones from London. Respond to Mingyu-moon's question. Ready?
어디에서 왔어요? 런던에서 왔어요.
Listen again and repeat.
런던에서 왔어요. 런던에서 왔어요.
Let's try another. Imagine you're Eugene Ieung from Seattle. Ready?
어디에서 왔어요?
시애틀에서 왔어요.
Listen again and repeat.
시애틀에서 왔어요. 시애틀에서 왔어요.
Let's try one more. Now, imagine you're Sophie Kim from Seoul. Ready?
어디에서 왔어요?
서울에서 왔어요.
Listen again and repeat.
서울에서 왔어요. 서울에서 왔어요. This is the end of this lesson.
Remember, these can-do lessons are about learning practical language skills. What's next? Show us what you can do. When you're ready, take your assessment. You can take it again and again, so try anytime you like. Our teachers will assess it and give you your results.
Well done! Now you know how to say where you're from in Korean. That's all there is to it. Keep practicing and move on to the next lesson. This is the end of this lesson.
Now, here's what you can do to cement this conversation in your head. Review the conversation with our dialogue tool and lesson transcripts. Study the key words and phrases with our spaced repetition flashcards. Review the key grammar and cultural tips inside the lesson notes. And test yourself with our assessment tests. So click the link in the description right now and sign up for your free lifetime account to access our Can-Do course.
Well done! Now you know how to say where you're from in Korean. That's all there is to it. Keep practicing and move on to the next lesson.
Welcome to Can-Do Korean by KoreanClass101.com.
안녕하세요 여러분, 김소피입니다. Hi everyone, I'm Sophie Kim. In this lesson, you'll learn how to talk about your occupation in Korean.
This is Mark Morris, and he's on a plane to Seoul. He asks the passenger sitting next to him, Min-Gyu Moon, "Are you a student?"
학생이에요.
Listen to the conversation and focus on Min-Gyu Moon's response. Note, the speakers in this conversation use polite Korean. Ready?
학생이에요.
아니요. 학생이 아니에요. 투자가예요.
Once more with the English translation.
학생이에요.
Are you a student?
아니요. 학생이 아니에요. 투자가예요.
No, I'm not a student. I'm an investor.
Let's take a closer look at the conversation.
Do you remember how Mark asks, "Are you a student?"
학생이에요.
First is
학생,
student.
학생, 학생,
Next is,
이에요,
here it's like the R in RU.
이에요, 이에요.
Note, the word you is understood from context, as Mark is asking a question, and here the question is formed by the rising intonation. Listen again.
학생이에요? 이에요,
Is from the verb,
이다,
meaning to be.
이다,
Note,
이에요.
follows words that end in a consonant like,
학생,
altogether,
학생이에요?
are you a student?
학생이에요.
Now, let's take a closer look at the response.
Do you remember how Min-Gyu Moon says, "No, I'm not a student. I'm an investor."
아니요. 학생이 아니에요. 투자가예요.
First is the expression,
아니요,
meaning no.
아니요, 아니요.
It answers Mark's yes or no question. Are you a student?
학생이에요?
Next, Min-Gyu says,
학생이 아니에요.
I'm not a student.
학생이 아니에요.
First is
학생,
student.
학생.
Next is
이,
the subject marking particle.
이, 이,
It marks student as the subject of the sentence. Note, there are two versions of the subject marking particle.
이,
Follows words that end in a consonant, like.
학생,
Next is,
아니에요.
here, not I am, but it translates as I am not.
아니에요.
Note, the word I is understood from context, as Ming-Yu is responding to a question.
아니에요.
Is from the verb,
아니다.
meaning to not be.
아니다.
Altogether,
학생이 아니에요.
I'm not a student.
학생이 아니에요.
Finally, Ming-Yu says,
투자가예요.
I'm an investor.
투자가예요.
First,
투자가,
investor.
투자가, 투자가,
Next is,
예요.
in this case, it's like the am in I am.
예요. 예요.
Note, the word I is understood from context, as the speaker is answering a question.
예요.
Is from the verb,
이다.
meaning to be.
이다.
Note,
예요.
follows words that end in a vowel like.
투자가,
Together,
투자가예요.
I'm an investor.
투자가예요.
Altogether,
아니요. 학생이 아니에요. 투자가예요.
no, I'm not a student. I'm an investor.
아니요. 학생이 아니에요. 투자가예요.
Note, there are two forms of the subject marking particle.
이,
Follows words that end in a consonant, such as.
학생. 가,
Follows words that end in a vowel, such as.
투자가.
Note, there are two polite forms of the verb,
이다.
to be.
이에요.
Follows words that end in a consonant, such as.
학생. 예요.
Follows words that end in a vowel, such as.
투자가.
The pattern is.
아니요. Occupation ending in consonant. 이 아니에요. 아니요. Occupation ending in vowel. 가 아니에요.
No, I'm not occupation.
Actual occupation ending in consonant. 예요. Actual occupation ending in vowel. 예요.
I'm actual occupation.
아니요. Occupation ending in consonant. 이 아니에요. 아니요. Occupation ending in vowel. 가 아니에요. Actual occupation ending in consonant. 예요. Actual occupation ending in vowel. 예요.
No, I'm not occupation. I'm actual occupation. Imagine you're Eugene Ieung, a student. Ming-Yu asks you if you're a teacher.
선생님. 선생님. 선생님.
Say, no, I'm not a teacher. I'm a student. Ready?
아니요. 선생님이 아니에요. 학생이에요.
No, I'm not a teacher. I'm a student.
아니요. 선생님이 아니에요. 학생이에요.
Let's look at some more examples. Listen and repeat or speak along with the native speakers.
아니요. 학생이 아니에요. 투자가예요. 아니요. 학생이 아니에요. 투자가예요.
아니요. 선생님이 아니에요. 학생이에요. 아니요. 선생님이 아니에요. 학생이에요.
아니요. 선생님이 아니에요. 엔지니어예요. 아니요. 선생님이 아니에요. 엔지니어예요.
아니요. 간호사가 아니에요. 의사예요. 아니요. 간호사가 아니에요. 의사예요.
아니요, 학생이 아니에요. 선생님이에요. 아니요, 학생이 아니에요. 선생님이에요.
아니요. 바리스타예요. 아니요. 바리스타예요.
Did you notice how the last speaker omits part of the response?
아니요. 바리스타예요.
No, I am a barista.
아니요. 바리스타예요.
When directly responding to someone's question, it's often possible to omit part of the response. Here, by simply answering
아니요.
no, there is no need to say,
학생이 아니에요.
I'm not a student. This pattern is
아니요. Actual occupation ending in consonant. 이에요. 아니요. Actual occupation ending in vowel. 예요.
no, I'm actual occupation. You should be aware of this pattern, but for this lesson, we'll use the pattern.
아니요. Occupation ending in consonant. 이 아니에요. 아니요. Occupation ending in vowel. 가 아니에요.
No, I'm not occupation.
Actual occupation ending in consonant. 이에요. Actual occupation ending in vowel. 예요.
I'm actual occupation. Let's review the key vocabulary.
선생님,
Teacher,
선생님, 선생님. 엔지니어,
engineer,
엔지니어, 엔지니어. 간호사,
nurse,
간호사, 간호사. 의사,
doctor,
의사, 의사. 바리스타,
barista,
바리스타, 바리스타.
Let's review. Respond to the prompts by speaking aloud. Then, repeat after me, focusing on pronunciation. Ready? Do you remember how to say investor? 투자가, 투자가. And how Mingyu Moon says, I am an investor. 투자가예요. 투자가예요. Do you remember how to say student? 학생, 학생. And how Mingyu-moon says, I'm not a student. 학생이 아니에요. 학생이 아니에요. Do you remember how to say no? 아니요. 아니요. Do you remember how Mingyu-moon says, no, I'm not a student. I am an investor.
아니요. 학생이 아니에요. 투자가예요.
아니요. 학생이 아니에요. 투자가예요. Do you remember how Mark Morris asks, are you a student? Remember, Mark uses formal Korean.
학생이에요?
학생이에요? Do you remember the word for teacher? 선생님, 선생님. And the word for engineer? engineer, engineer.
Let's practice. Imagine you're Mark Morris, and you're an engineer. Respond to Mingyu's question. Ready?
선생님이에요?
아니요. 선생님이 아니에요. 엔지니어예요.
Listen again and repeat.
아니요. 선생님이 아니에요. 엔지니어예요. 아니요. 선생님이 아니에요. 엔지니어예요.
Let's try another. Imagine you're Eugene Ieung, and you're a student. Ready?
선생님이에요?
아니요. 선생님이 아니에요. 학생이에요.
Listen again and repeat.
아니요. 선생님이 아니에요. 학생이에요. 아니요. 선생님이 아니에요. 학생이에요.
Let's try one more. Imagine you're Sophie Kim, and you're a teacher. Ready?
학생이에요?
아니요. 학생이 아니에요. 선생님이에요.
Listen again and repeat.
아니요. 학생이 아니에요. 선생님이에요. 아니요. 학생이 아니에요. 선생님이에요. This is the end of this lesson.
Remember, these can-do lessons are about learning practical language skills. What's next? Show us what you can do. When you're ready, take your assessment. You can take it again and again, so try anytime you like. Our teachers will assess it and give you your results.
Well done! Now you know how to talk about your occupation in Korean. That's all there is to it. Keep practicing and move on to the next lesson. This is the end of this lesson.
Now, here's what you can do to cement this conversation in your head. Review the conversation with our dialogue tool and lesson transcripts. Study the key words and phrases with our spaced repetition flashcards. Review the key grammar and cultural tips inside the lesson notes. And test yourself with our assessment tests. So click the link in the description right now and sign up for your free lifetime account to access our Can-Do course.
Well done! Now you know how to talk about your occupation in Korean. That's all there is to it. Keep practicing and move on to the next lesson.
Do you know how to count bags of rice? You'll find out at the end of this lesson. Hi everybody, I'm Alicia.
안녕하세요, 누경진입니다.
Welcome to Korean Counters for Beginners, where you'll learn how to count all sorts of different objects in Korean. Sungsae-nim, what counter will we learn in this lesson?
개.
First, let's take a look at what sorts of objects can be counted with this counter. When counting inanimate objects in general, you can use this counter.
개.
This counter can be translated as thing in English. Although it's better to use the specific counters that we're going to learn in the following lessons, you can use this counter for any inanimate object in general. For example, you can count apples with this counter as well as pens. When you're not sure which counters to use for inanimate objects, you can simply use this one. But you can't use it when you're counting animate objects, such as dogs or people. Okay, let's count from 1 to 10 with this counter. Sonsang-nim will give you the numbers one by one. Repeat after her.
한 개, 두 개, 세 개, 네 개, 다섯 개, 여섯 개, 일곱 개, 여덟 개, 아홉 개, 열 개.
Did you notice that the counter sounded different when she read it for the numbers 5 to 10? Those numbers have the batchim, or the final consonant in a Korean syllable, so it makes the counters sound stronger, a process that is called fortis. Let's hear them once again.
다섯 개, 낫 다섯 개, 여섯 개, 낫 여섯 개, 일곱 개, 낫 일곱 개, 여덟 개, 낫 여덟 개, 아홉 개, 낫 아홉 개, 열 개, 낫 열 개.
Okay, now let's take a look at some sample sentences using this counter.
사과 3개를 살 겁니다.
I'll buy 3 apples.
펜 5개 주세요.
Can you give me 5 pens, please?
건물이 10개 있습니다.
There are 10 buildings. Now it's time for a quiz. I'm going to ask you a question in English. Please answer in Korean. Are you ready? Make sure to use the right counter. How many umbrellas are there?
우산이 10개 있습니다.
How many computers do you have?
컴퓨터를 2개 갖고 있습니다.
Do you know the special counter for bags of rice? Rice is the main ingredient in Korean dishes, so it has a special counter just for the bags. The answer is
가마.
you need to use this counter to specify how many bags of rice. If you say,
쌀 한 가마 주세요.
it means, please give me 1 bag of rice. When you count a grain of rice, you can use the counter toll instead. Okay, everyone, that's it for this lesson. I'll see you next time. Do you know how to count a pair of fish? You'll find out at the end of this lesson. Hi, everybody. I'm Alicia.
안녕하세요. 노경진입니다.
Welcome to Korean Counters for Beginners, where you'll learn how to count all sorts of different objects in Korean. Sungsae-nim, what counter will we learn in this lesson?
말이.
First, let's take a look at what sorts of objects can be counted with this counter. When you count animals, you can use this counter.
말이,
This counter can be used to count any type of animal, such as cats, birds, and even fish. But make sure not to use this counter for human beings. Okay, let's count from 1 to 10 with this counter.
한 마리, 두 마리, 세 마리, 네 마리, 다섯 마리, 여섯 마리, 일곱 마리, 여덟 마리, 아홉 마리, 열 마리.
Here's some good news. The pronunciation of this counter will always be the same, no matter how many animals you're counting. But when you use it to count the number 100 or higher, you should use Sino-Korean numbers. Let's hear some examples with the higher numbers.
100마리, 1000마리, 만마리.
Okay, now let's take a look at some sample sentences using this counter.
집에 고양이 한 마리가 있습니다.
I have a cat at home.
새 두 마리가 공원에서 날아다니고 있습니다.
2 birds are flying over the park.
어머니가 생선 세 마리를 요리하셨습니다.
My mother cooked 3 fish. Now it's time for a quiz. I'm going to ask you a question in English. Please answer in Korean. Are you ready? Make sure to use the right counter. How many pandas are in the park?
팬더 두 마리가 있습니다.
How many dogs are playing in the backyard?
마당에 강아지 세 마리가 놀고 있습니다.
When you're counting a pair of fish, you can use a special character. Do you know what it is? The answer is
손,
it sounds exactly the same as the word meaning hands. When it's used as a counter, you can use it for counting a pair of fish. Let's take an example.
어머니가 고등어 한 손을 사왔습니다.
It means, my mother bought 1 pair of mackerel. When you visit a Korean market, you'll be able to find people using this counter when they're buying fish. Okay, everyone, that's it for this lesson. I'll see you next time. Hello, and welcome to Introduction to Korean. My name is Alicia, and I'm joined by...
Hi everyone, I'm Jae-hui. In this series, you'll learn everything you need to know to get started learning Korean.
That's right, and we're here to help guide you through your journey. In this lesson, you'll learn why you should start learning a new language, why it should be Korean in particular, and how to get started.
Let's begin with the most obvious question. Why learn a new language?
There are countless reasons, but perhaps the biggest one of all is that it could actually change your life. Learning a new language unlocks new pathways that are off limits to you now. There are certain things that you simply cannot do without having the technical or cultural skills that come from learning a new language.
Like working or living in another country.
Knowing another language provides you with greater job opportunities. It gives you the freedom to move to another country halfway around the world to earn a living, or better yet, build a career from it, rather than being stuck in one place. Language allows you to visit or live in places that you may never have even considered going simply because that wasn't a possibility for you. Knowing another language simply gives you more options to choose from.
And learning a new language also helps you to be more open-minded and see the world from a new perspective.
Language and culture go hand in hand. The world is a big place, and by broadening your understanding of other cultures, it allows you to be more empathetic and understanding of the many different ways that people live their lives. With language, you're able to see and experience more, which helps you to grow as a person.
Learning a new language also improves your memory.
Several studies have consistently shown that those who study another language have improved memory as opposed to those who didn't learn another language. Learning another language also keeps your brain healthy by significantly delaying the onset of Alzheimer's and dementia. This difference can be as much as 4 to 5 more years of quality life.
And those are just some of the reasons you should learn another language. The list just goes on and on.
Now you know the benefits of studying another language, but why should you learn Korean in particular?
Have you heard of Gangnam Style, the biggest hit song in 2012? The hit drama My Love from the Stars? Or popular boy bands Big Bang or EXO? The one thing they all have in common is that they are all part of Korean pop culture.
Korean pop culture is trending worldwide. K-pop artists are performing to sold-out shows all over the world. Korean dramas and movies are being remade, not just in Asia, but in Western countries as well, such as the United States.
K-pop stars also influence the fashion industry, as the clothing and accessories worn by K-pop singers and TV stars tend to sell out instantly worldwide.
Learning Korean, then, will allow you to take in all that Korean pop culture has to offer.
And contrary to popular belief, Korean is not a difficult language. Unlike some other Asian languages which require you to learn thousands of characters, Korean characters, known as Hangul, acts more like an alphabet, so it's much easier to learn.
And did you know that Korea is one of the highest-ranked countries in terms of innovation?
That's right. Korea is one of the most innovative countries in the world. It's also one of the largest economies in Asia. But did you also know that Korea is one of the easiest countries in the world to do business in?
Korea is one of the top-ranking countries in the World Bank's Ease of Doing Business Index, meaning it's very easy for foreign companies to do business in Korea.
Knowing Korean opens up many business opportunities. Understanding the language, the business etiquette, and work culture in Korea is essential in achieving success in the world of business. Oftentimes, it could even make or break an important business deal. Knowing Korean will put you ahead of the pack.
Okay then, we've talked about why you should start learning a language and why you should start learning Korean, but how should they get started, Jay?
Well, it's as simple as learning your first word in Korean and building up from there.
The good news, though, is that you already know some Korean.
피자, 아이스크림, 데이트.
There are many English loanwords that are used in Korean today. Even without teaching you any Korean, there's a good chance that you'll still recognize these Korean loanwords.
Let's teach you something that you might not know, but it's very useful. 반가워요. It means nice to meet you in Korean.
That's a useful phrase. Can you explain a little bit about what these characters are, though?
Sure. That's actually the Korean alphabet that we mentioned earlier called Hangul. And 반가워요 is a good phrase to know as it shows the various ways Hangul can be written, with a 받침 arranged horizontally from left to right, using a combination of two vowels and arranged top to bottom.
You'll learn about the grammatical rules and the writing system eventually, but for now, let's focus on practicing this phrase. Listen and repeat after Jay.
반가워요.
Now you try.
반가워요.
Your turn again.
반가워요.
Well done. Now you know how to say nice to meet you in Korean. We've covered a lot of things already, so why don't we wrap up the first lesson and recap what we've learned? In this lesson, you learned that studying another language has many benefits, such as providing new job and business opportunities. Learning Korean will help you understand more about Korean pop culture. And to say nice to meet you in Korean, it's
반가워요.
In the next lesson, we're going to demystify Korean pronunciation by taking a look at the sounds of Korean, so be sure to watch the next video. See you in the next lesson. Bye!
다음에 또 만나요.
Hi! Welcome to Introduction to Korean. My name is Alicia, and I'm joined by...
Hi everyone, I'm Jae-hui.
In this lesson, you'll learn the basics of Korean pronunciation. Pronunciation refers to the manner in which a word is spoken, so don't focus on reading what's on screen. Instead, focus on listening and repeating. Korean is referred to as a syllable-timed language. What this means is that the syllables in Korean follow each other at regular intervals, usually with the same amount of time allocated for each syllable.
고마워요. 고마워요.
Each syllable is pronounced for an equal amount of time.
고마워요.
Since Korean is a syllable-timed language, there is no word stress. English, on the other hand, is a stress-timed language. Syllables that are stressed are valued greater than syllables that are unstressed. Individual. The stressed syllable vi in individual is deemed more important, so it's pronounced longer than all other syllables. Listen to it again. Individual. This gives English a Morse code-like rhythm, where the pace is sometimes fast and at other times slow. Compare this once again with Korean, which is even throughout.
고마워요.
Individual.
고마워요. 고마워요.
When pronouncing Korean words, focus on giving equal time to each syllable as you say the characters out loud. There are 10 basic vowel sounds in Korean, which are used to create a total of 21 vowel sound combinations. Let's take a look at how some of the basic vowels are pronounced.
아, 어, 오, 우, 으, 이.
There are also iotized vowel sounds in Korean. This simply means that there's an added Y sound.
야, 여, 요, 유.
Finally, there are diphthongs, which are two vowels pronounced closely together to form a gliding sound.
와, 워.
These are some of the basic vowel sounds in Korean. There are 14 basic consonants that produce a total 19 consonant sounds in Korean. All of these sounds are categorized into nasal, plain, aspirated, or tense sounds. You can think of these categories as going from soft to harder sounding consonants. Nasal consonants are consonant sounds which are pronounced through the nose. These consist of M, N, and NG type sounds.
느, 무, 으.
Plain consonant sounds are called that because they do not have special features added to them. Think of the T sound in stand or the P sound in span.
그, 드, 브, 스, 즈.
Aspirated consonant sounds, on the other hand, have an added turbulent sound. These sounds are like the English T sounds in tuck or take or the P in puck.
크, 트, 프, 츠, 흐.
Aspirated sounds are pronounced with a big burst of air, unlike plain sounds which do not have this quality. Compare the two categories of sounds.
그, 크, 느, 트, 브, 프.
Tense consonants, also known as double consonants, are pronounced with a stiffer voice. More pressure is built up and it's released much more quickly than plain sounds.
끄, 뜨, 프, 스, 즈.
Korean has a handful of sounds that are similar to English. They're not identical, however, so don't make the mistake of pronouncing them as such.
One of the most unique sounds in Korean is the consonant real. 르.
This consonant is often romanized as an R or an L, but there isn't an equivalent sound in English.
라마.
This sound is actually somewhere between an L and an R sound. When pronouncing this sound, your tongue should strike the gum ridge behind your upper teeth in a quick, rapid motion. Listen and repeat after J.
르, 르, 라마, 라마.
Well done! Let's wrap up this lesson by recapping what we've learned. In this lesson, you learned that Korean is a syllable-timed language. You also learned the different categories for vowel and consonant sounds in Korean. And you discovered that there are some consonant sounds which do not have an English equivalent. We've covered only the basics of Korean pronunciation. If you're interested in learning more, check out the entire course we created named the Ultimate Korean Pronunciation Guide. In that course, we cover and break down all the sounds in the Korean language, showing you mouth and tongue positioning and giving you tips to help you perfect your Korean pronunciation. In the next lesson, we'll introduce you to the basics of Korean grammar, where you'll learn about Korean word order and how to build basic phrases in Korean. See you in the next lesson. Bye!
다음에 또 만나요.
Hi! Welcome to Introduction to Korean. My name is Alicia, and I'm joined by...
Hi everyone, I'm Jae-hee.
In this lesson, you'll learn the basics of Korean grammar. Word order refers to the order in which words are structured to form a sentence in a given language. Consider the English sentence, I saw a movie. But first, let's remove the article a here for simplicity. So we're just left with I saw movie. The basic word order for English is subject, verb, object, or SVO for short. If we break down the English sentence, I saw a movie, we can see that the subject I is presented first, followed by the verb saw, and then finally the object movie is positioned last. This is the basic word order for sentences in English.
Now, let's compare the same sentence, I saw a movie, in Korean. 나는 영화를 봤어요. If we break down the Korean sentence, we get the subject 나, meaning I, then comes the object 영화, meaning movie, and finally we have the verb 봤어요, meaning saw. The word order for Korean then is subject, object, verb, or SOV for short.
In both languages, the subject is presented first. In English, though, it's followed by the verb and then the object, compared to the object being first and the verb last in Korean. The same sentence in Korean is essentially I movie saw, subject first, then object and verb last, SOV. This is the basic word order for sentences in Korean.
Okay, let's move on to the next section.
English is what is called a subject-prominent language. This simply means that the subject is slightly more important than other components in the sentence. It's the key piece of information other components in the sentence relate to. Who is doing the action is slightly more important than what is being done or which object it's been done to in English. If we had to slowly remove pieces of information from a sentence while trying to keep its essence intact, logically we would do so in order of least important to most important. If we were to omit the subject, we would get saw a movie, which sounds strange. On the other hand, if we were to omit the object instead, the sentence would become I saw. Even though in each instance we omitted a piece of information, the reason I saw sounds less strange is because we've yet to break any grammatical rules, and so there's still potential for the sentence fragment to become a complete sentence and to become grammatically correct. Since the latter is logical, this indicates that the subject is more important than the object in English. The same is true if we had omitted the verb. Since the subject is the integral component in the sentence, this makes English a subject-prominent language.
Korean, on the other hand, is a topic-prominent language. Unlike English, the focus of each Korean sentence is the topic, not the subject. Essentially, the watched a movie portion, 영화를 봤어요, is the main focus of the sentence. The subject I can be omitted.
In fact, if it's obvious what the subject is, or if it's already been established, it's quite normal to omit the subject from the conversation altogether in Korean. Let's look at this aspect in a bit more detail. More often than not, if you wanted to say, I saw a movie in Korean, you would not say,
나는 영화를 봤어요.
Instead, you would more likely say, movie saw in Korean.
영화를 봤어요.
Korean is a topic-prominent language. Thus, the information to be shared is the act of seeing a movie. The subject is less important and is usually omitted altogether. Most Korean sentences are constructed and spoken like this in real life.
영화를 봤어요.
On the other hand, when it's unclear who or what the subject is, or if you wanted to place emphasis on the subject, like if you wanted to specify from a group of people that it was you who saw the movie, then you would include the subject.
제가 영화를 봤어요.
But more often than not, in spoken Korean, you can omit the subject, particularly if that subject is you.
선물을 샀어요. 택시를 타고 돌아왔어요.
Knowing this, we can easily express any simple action in Korean using just the object and the verb. Try to create the sentence, I ate an apple, from these sets of words.
먹었어요. 사과를.
Got it? The object goes first, so let's put apple here. And the verb goes last, so let's put ate at the end. Finally, we connect them using the appropriate particle. And that's it.
사과를 먹었어요.
Which means, I ate an apple in Korean.
사과를 먹었어요.
Well done. Let's wrap up this lesson by recapping what we've learned. In this lesson, you learned that Korean sentences are formed using a subject-object-verb, or SOV, word order. The most important aspect of Korean sentences is not the subject but the topic of the sentence. Most sentences spoken in Korean will not actually contain a subject, especially if that subject is obvious. And lastly, you can create basic sentences in Korean by putting the object first and the verb last. We've covered only the very basics of Korean grammar. If you're interested in learning more, check out our Korean in 3 Minutes video series. In that course, we teach you useful phrases while covering the fundamentals of Korean grammar, and each lesson is only 3 minutes long. In the next lesson, we'll introduce you to the basics of Korean writing. See you in the next lesson. Bye!
다음에 또 만나요.
Hi! Welcome to Introduction to Korean. My name is Alicia, and I'm joined by...
Hi everyone, I'm Jae-hee.
In this lesson, you'll learn the basics of Korean writing. Similar to English, Korean also uses an alphabet. However, there is a big difference in the way Korean is written.
Unlike the English alphabet, where each letter stands alone, Korean consonants and vowels are combined and grouped together into blocks. Each block represents one syllable.
You can think of each block as a square which you need to fill in using consonants and vowels until you've created a syllable.
Every block will require a minimum of one consonant and one vowel to create a syllable.
Usually, though, Korean syllables will consist of 3 parts: the initial, medial, and final. Initials are written at the top left of the block. Initials will always be consonants.
Keep in mind, though, that this doesn't mean that syllables in Korean will always start with a consonant sound. It only means that vowels cannot be written in the initial position. A silent consonant could take this position, thus starting the syllable with a vowel sound.
Medials, on the other hand, will always be a vowel. It could be a single vowel or a double vowel, in which case it'll have a gliding sound, sometimes perceived as a Y or a W sound.
The most basic Korean block then would consist of a consonant-vowel combination. Ga.
Sometimes a block may include a final. Finals are always consonants and are positioned below the vowel at the bottom of the syllabic block. This means that the initial, medial, final structure would be a combination of a consonant, a vowel or double vowel, and a consonant. Here's a useful phrase which includes various syllabic block structures we've just discussed.
반가워.
As you can see, the first block contains the consonant-vowel-consonant format we just mentioned.
반.
The second block is the basic consonant-vowel format. The vowel is a vertical one, so the consonant is written on the left.
가.
The third block contains a double vowel, so the structure is initial-medial, with the initial being a consonant and the medial a double vowel.
워.
Altogether, it's
반가워.
There are 3 basic rules for writing Korean characters. They are written from left to right, top to bottom, and from outside to inside.
This means that when you start writing a syllable in Korean, you start at the top left corner of the block.
Start at the top left corner and work down to the bottom right. Usually, the topmost horizontal line would come first, followed by any vertical strokes. If the consonant starts with a vertical stroke, you would start from the top left and work your way down, followed by any horizontal strokes.
그. As the first consonant is a 기역, you'd start from the top left and move toward the right for the first stroke, then move downward.
With Korean vowels, similar rules apply. You go from left to right and top to bottom. Most vowels in Korean start with a vertical stroke, however, so you would usually work your way from top to bottom, then left to right.
아.
We said initials, or the consonant, were written first. So if you put these 2 characters together,
가.
with a horizontal vowel, you would write the initial or consonant first,
그.
followed by the vowel below.
우.
Together,
구.
if you had a final consonant, then the order would be
반.
And should the medial be a double vowel with both horizontal and vertical components, the horizontal vowel would be written first, followed by the vertical vowel to the right.
워.
There you have it. Now you know how to write Korean characters within a syllabic block. In this lesson, you learned the basic rules of Korean writing. You learned that Korean consonants and vowels are grouped together to form syllabic blocks. You learned that there are usually 3 parts to a syllable: the initial, which is always a consonant, a medial, which can be a vowel or a double vowel, and a final, which is always a consonant. And lastly, Korean characters are written from the top left to the bottom right.
That's all for this lesson. If you'd like to learn more about Korean writing, check out our Hana Hangul series.
In the next lesson, you'll be entering Korean Boot Camp, where you'll learn useful beginner phrases to get you speaking Korean right away. See you in the next lesson. Bye!
다음에 또 만나요.
Hi! Welcome to Introduction to Korean. My name is Alicia, and I'm joined by...
Hi everyone, I'm Jae-hee.
In this lesson, we'll focus on teaching you some useful Korean words and phrases for absolute beginners.
Make sure to repeat the words out loud after I say the examples.
Are you ready? Let's get started. One of the best phrases to learn while studying a new language is one that expresses gratitude. If you had to learn only a single phrase, this would be it.
고마워요. It means thank you. 고마워요.
Keep repeating after Jay until you get it.
고마워요.
Your turn.
고마워요. 고마워요.
One last time.
고마워요.
Okay, the next phrase we'll teach you is also very useful. It's used to excuse yourself.
실례합니다. And it means excuse me. 실례합니다.
Use this phrase when you're out shopping and need help, or when you're making your way through the busy streets of Seoul.
실례합니다. 실례합니다.
Do you remember this consonant here? We discussed it in lesson 2. While this character is transcribed as an R and an L, don't pronounce it like an English R. Listen to how Jay is pronouncing this sound.
르,
It sounds like a mixture between an R and an L sound.
르, 르.
Altogether, it's...
실례합니다.
Okay, one last time.
실례합니다.
Now you can say thank you and excuse me in Korean. Let's move on. Another very important phrase to know is to ask where something is. This phrase is very useful, as you can use it to ask where the bathroom or the subway station is.
은, 는, 어디예요?
For example, if you want to ask, where is the bathroom?
화장실은 어디예요? 은, 는 is a topic marker which marks the place as the subject of the sentence. 은 is used if the character preceding it ends with a consonant. If the character preceding this phrase ends with a vowel, you use 는. 어디 means where. 예요 is a polite word that roughly translates to is.
Altogether, it's...
화장실은 어디예요?
Your turn.
화장실은 어디예요?
Next,
지하철역. 지하철역은 어디예요?
if you ask someone this question, they'll direct you to the closest subway station. If you'd like to ask where a specific subway station is, like Seoul Station for example, omit subway and place the location before station.
지하철역. 서울역. 서울역은 어디예요?
Next,
사우나.
sauna.
사우나. 사우나는 어디예요?
You can substitute almost anything and simply add
은, 는, 어디예요?
to ask where something is in Korean. In this final lesson, you learned how to say thank you, excuse me, and to ask where something is in Korean. And in this series, we introduced you to the basics of Korean pronunciation, grammar, writing, and more. Let's conclude with some parting advice from Jay and listen to some of his tips on how to learn Korean from a native Korean perspective.
The best way to learn Korean is to practice, practice, practice. First of all, don't try to fit Korean sounds into that of the English alphabet. one effective way to initially master Korean pronunciation is to watch Korean educational videos. Korean children need to learn their native language too, so educational programs for children as well as adults will help you figure out the vowel and consonant sounds. Watching modern Korean dramas and news programs is another sure way of increasing your Korean vocabulary and improving your grammar. Although K-pop is very popular and trendy, most of the lyrics use English phrases or slang which you may not use in everyday speech. And last but not least, studying Korean through contemporary videos such as our videos here at KoreanClass101.com will ensure that you're learning real, applicable Korean in the fastest and most effective way.
You've reached the end of this course, Introduction to Korean, but it's only the beginning of your journey to Korean fluency. Next, how about trying our innovative Korean culture series, where we teach you beginner vocab and even more useful phrases? Or check out any of our other video series. We have many different categories for you to choose from. Good luck as you continue learning Korean, and I'll see you in another video. Bye!
다음에 만나요.
Want to master grammar so you can speak properly, express yourself better, and understand more? In this video, I'll show you how to master grammar with our lessons and learning program. Let's begin. Number 1. Listen to the lesson conversations and explanations. In every lesson, you learn a conversation. Then, our teachers break down every word and grammar rule. So you're actually learning grammar rules in the context of conversations, and you can easily see how they're used. Once you're done, review the conversation again and again to remember what you've learned. Number 2, read the bonus explanations and tutorials. With the lesson notes, you get extra grammar explanations and examples that are not presented in the lesson. After you're done with the lesson, read the lesson notes for extra review. You can even save them as PDFs so that you can access them anytime. Number 3, leave a comment on the lesson. Once you've learned a grammar point, be sure to use it. Leave a comment in the comments section. Write some example sentences for practice. Our teachers will review your comment and give you feedback. Number 4, unlock even more grammar lessons. If you want to find all of the grammar lessons available, visit our lesson library. Under Category, choose Grammar. You'll get all of the pathways and lessons dedicated to helping you learn and master sentence patterns and grammar points. So, if you're ready to finally learn a new language the fast, fun, and easy way, sign up for your free lifetime account by clicking on the link in the description. Signing up takes less than 30 seconds, and you'll start speaking from your very first lesson. If you enjoyed these tips, hit the like button, share it with anyone who's trying to learn a new language, and subscribe to our channel. We release new videos every week. I'll see you next time. Bye!
Hi everyone, I'm Jae-hui. In this video, we'll be talking about top 25 Korean phrases. Okay, let's see what we have first. 안녕하세요. Hello. This is the greeting that you can use for the formal situation. When you meet someone for the first time, you can say 안녕하세요, 만나서 반갑습니다, which means hello, it's nice to meet you. Or with your friend, you can just say 안녕 without 하세요, just to say hello to your friend. 여보세요. Hello on the phone. You have to use a different phrase when you want to say hello on the phone. So say 띠리리리링 안녕 안녕하세요. 띠리리리리 여보세요. 여보세요. That's so you can say 안녕하세요 when you're talking on the phone. It sounds weird. 오랜만이에요. Long time no see. When you're just shopping in the department store and you see someone you haven't met for a long time, you can just say 오랜만이에요 to mean long time no see. Or with friend, you can say 오랜만이야, long time no see. 안녕히 주무세요, good night. Actually, it literally means please sleep well. So you can use this phrase only with someone who is living together with you, like your parents. So to your parents, 안녕히 주무세요. So at night, you can say 안녕히 주무세요. Then your parents should be, and then you'll be 잘 자, good night. So 잘자 is informal way to say good night. So to your wife, to your husband, brother, or sister, you can just say 잘자, and then you can just go back to sleep. 안녕히 계세요, goodbye. There are two ways to say goodbye. This one is the one that you can use when you leave. Let's say you are invited to someone's house. You had a really great time. You leave. In that case, you can say 안녕히 계세요. 안녕히 가세요. Goodbye. Let's say you are the host of the party. You invited everyone to your home, had a really great time, and then everyone is leaving now. You want to say 안녕히 가세요 because your stay, everyone else is leaving. For example, you can say 안녕히 가세요. 와주셔서 감사합니다, which means goodbye, thank you for coming. 만나서 반가워요. Nice to meet you. When you meet someone for the first time, you can say 안녕하세요, then say 만나서 반가워요. Or if someone is younger than you can just say 만나서 반가워 in informal way. So for those who just watched the video of me for the first time, let me say 만나서 반가워요. 모르겠어요. I do not know. Let's say on the street, you're in Seoul, someone asks you something in Korean, you don't know. You have no idea what he's talking about. Then you can just simply say 모르겠어요. I do not know. In informal way, 모르겠어. 감사합니다. Thank you. Let's say you got a gift and you can say 선물 감사합니다. Thank you for the gift. So you can just simply say 감사합니다 or the noun plus 감사합니다 to mean thank you for something. 고맙습니다. Thank you. You can say 감사합니다 or 고맙습니다 to say thank you, but if you want to make it sound more friendly, you can say 고맙습니다. 선물 고맙습니다. Thank you for the gift. 초대 감사합니다. Thank you for the invitation. 잠깐만 기다려주세요. Wait a moment, please. Let's say you're late and you see your boss is about to leave. 잠깐만 기다려주세요. 죄송합니다. Sorry. 죄송합니다. 죄송합니다. 미안합니다. Sorry. Don't use this when you make a big mistake, but if it is not big, then you can just say 미안합니다. That's enough. So when you bump into someone on the street, then you can say this. 미안합니다. Because it's not a big mistake. 알겠습니다. I understand. So let's say you made a huge mistake at your company and your boss will be like, 너 지금 뭐 하는 거야? You can say, after listening to everything, you can say, 알겠습니다. I understand. 선생님 질문 있어요. 선생님 이름이 뭐예요? 알겠습니다. 잘 다녀오세요. Have a good journey. You can say that to those who are going to take a big trip, but usually we also use that to a father who is about to go to work and we just say 잘 다녀오세요. 좋은 하루 되세요. Have a nice day. 잘 다녀오세요 literally means please go out and come back safely. So you can say only when someone is leaving and you are staying in and waiting for that person. 이름이 뭐예요? What's your name? 이름이 뭐예요? 이름이 뭐예요? 재휘예요. 네. 이름이 뭐예요? 재휘입니다. 알겠습니다. 이름이 뭐예요? What's your name? 제 이름은 입니다. My name is 제 이름은 이재휘입니다. My name is 이재휘. 안녕. 어서 오세요. Welcome. So you got into the store and you hear 어서 오세요 or 어서 오세요. Or you got a guest coming into your place. Then you can say 어서 오세요. Welcome. 실례합니다. Excuse me. You have to catch your bus and you have to go through the crowd. Then you have to say 실례합니다. 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 When you want to ask a question, you can also say 실례합니다. Then your question. 잘 먹겠습니다. I will eat well. Thank you for the meal. You're at the restaurant, you got a lot of food, and you're about to eat. Before you eat, you have to say 잘 먹겠습니다. Even if you're alone, you have to say 잘 먹겠습니다. 잘 먹겠습니다. 잘 먹었습니다. I ate well. Thank you for the meal. 잘 먹었습니다. When you leave a restaurant, you can say 잘 먹었습니다 to the staff to say thank you for the meal. 맛있게 드세요. Bon appetit. Let's say this is the food that I made with seaweed, huge seaweed. 맛있게 드세요. 맛있게 드세요. 잘 먹겠습니다. I'm hungry. 이거 얼마예요? How much is this? So you go to shopping, You found the item you really want to have. And then you can say, 이거 얼마예요? 저거 얼마예요? 그거 얼마예요? Then you get the price, but don't accept that. You have to try the discount. Say, 깎아주세요 to get you discount. That's all top 25 Korean phrases. Thank you for watching it, and please make sure to subscribe. 좋은 하루 보내세요. Have a nice day. 잘 먹겠습니다. 이거 재미를 또.
안녕하세요, 에이미예요. 반가워요. Hi everybody, I'm Amy. Welcome to KoreanClass101.com's 3분 한국어, the fastest, easiest, and most fun way to learn Korean. In the last lesson, we learned some words used when apologizing in Korean, including 죄송합니다 and 미안해. In this lesson, we are going to learn some numbers. Yes, numbers. 숫자. There are actually two systems of counting in Korean. In this lesson, you're going to learn the Chinese-based numbers 1 to 10. And you're going to learn them in only 3 minutes, 3분. Are you ready? Then let's start. 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 6, 6, 7, 7, 8, 8, 9, 10, 10. Okay, now repeat after me. I'll say the numbers and give you time to repeat each one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Great job! What comes before 1? Do you know how to say 0 in Korean? It's Ieung. But in phone numbers, it's often said 0. Ieung, 0. Imagine someone tells you a phone number. Can you understand it? 0, 1, 0, 3, 1, 7, 5, 4, 2, 6, 8. Now it's time for Amy's insights. As we mentioned earlier, Korean has two systems of counting. The Chinese-based one we are learning now, and a native Korean one. The Chinese-based one is easier, so we are learning it first. But we will learn the native Korean counting system in the very next 3분 한국어 lesson. See you then! 다음에 또 만나요!
Want to finally learn Korean the fast, fun, and easy way? In this video, I'll show you the top 10 ways to get started. So let's begin. Number 1. Take your very first lesson. Access any audio or video lesson on KoreanClass101.com and just press the play button to get started. Don't have an account? Don't worry. Just go to the sign up page to create an account. It takes less than 30 seconds and it's free. We have thousands of audio and video lessons covering a variety of topics like grammar, pronunciation, listening, and reading. Just click on the play button on any lesson and start learning. Number 2. Read along with the lesson. You can read along with the lesson notes or lesson transcript. These come with every lesson. The lesson notes provide you with the dialogue for the scene taught in the lesson, along with translations, a more in-depth explanation of the grammar and culture, and even vocab and sample sentences. The lesson transcript is the full word-for-word transcript of everything you hear in the lesson. And the dialogue study tool provides you with the audio for the lesson dialogue, along with the translations. Number 3. Shadowing. Shadowing is a tested learning technique where you repeat what you hear. This is a great way to start speaking in minutes and practice speaking in general. If you're listening along with the lesson audio or dialogue, be sure to shadow along the way. Number 4, use the dialogue study tool to master the conversation. Here, you get the line-by-line breakdown of the conversation demonstrated in the lesson. Listen and repeat until you've mastered each line. Do this until you've mastered the entire conversation. Number 5, use the voice recorder to perfect your pronunciation and speaking. In the dialogue study tool, you'll find a microphone icon next to each line. Click on it to record your voice. Then, compare it with the native speakers. Listen and adjust your pronunciation until you match that of the native speaker. Number 6, review vocab with the lesson vocabulary list. Vocabulary words are the building blocks of language. You can save vocab words taught in each lesson by clicking on Add to Word Bank. Want to drill the words with smart flashcards instead? Just click on Add to Flashcard Deck to do so. Number 7, listen to the review track. If you've studied an audio lesson before, just listen to the review track so that you don't have to listen through the entire lesson again. This is a great way to reinforce the material that you've learned, and it's great to have on the go. Just access any audio lesson and click on the download icon. Then click Review to download the review track. Number 8, review with quizzes after the lesson. Once you're confident enough with the material taught in the lesson, be sure to take the quiz to test your newfound knowledge. Take the review questions and answer true or false for each one. Or take the writing questions and input your answer. Remember to check the answers by clicking on the Check Answers button. Number 9, participate and leave a comment. The best way to master what you've learned is to use it. Join the community of learners by leaving a comment below at the end of every lesson. Our dedicated teachers will check your responses to correct you on any mistakes or provide you with helpful study tips and advice. And finally, number 10, move on to the next lesson. Done with a lesson? Mark the lesson as complete. You can see your overall learning progress on your dashboard. If you particularly enjoyed the lesson, mark the lesson as favorite so that you can come back to it later at any time. Click on the forward arrow to move on to the next lesson and continue learning. If you enjoyed these tips, hit the like button, share it with anyone who's trying to learn Korean, and subscribe to our channel. We release new videos every week. Remember, you can sign up to KoreanClass101.com by clicking on the link in the description. Sign up takes less than 30 seconds, and it's free. I'll see you next time. Bye! Are you feeling confident as a beginner-level language learner? Are you ready to move up to the intermediate level? Here are some tips to help you make that leap and advance your language learning progress. Tip number 1, determine your skill level. It's important to look across your skills in the major language competencies: listening, speaking, writing, and reading. By taking our level assessment test, you can review your skills in each competency and see your strengths and weaknesses. Keep in mind it's normal to be better in some skills than others. Premium Plus users can take our level assessment test and get personalized recommendations and learning pathways based on your results. Once you've figured out which skills need work, it's time to take action. No matter which of your language skills need to be improved, make sure you choose a method that's both effective and fun to help maintain your regular learning routine. Tip number 2, listening. The most effective way to build your listening comprehension is by building a strong vocabulary. The more vocab you master, the easier it will be to understand the context and details of the conversation. Songs in the target language are a key listening tool that will teach you common, everyday vocabulary. By learning and memorizing the lyrics, you're building up your vocabulary. If you really want your listening skills to take off, listen to our podcasts. We have hundreds of hours of audio lessons for you to listen to. Before you know it, you'll be able to understand shows and movies. Tip number 3, speaking. Add speaking elements to your language routine. Try shadowing podcasts, repeating along while you listen. Match the native speaker's pronunciation and intonation. This is a fantastic way to improve your fluency and accuracy. You can also find a partner for conversation exchange. A partner can help correct your mistakes and teach you more natural ways to phrase your ideas. Tip number 4, writing. An easy way to start writing more often is by keeping a one-sentence journal. Write one sentence in a journal every day. It doesn't take a lot of time and is a great habit for beginners to build a routine. You have to be consistent to make improvements. Ask native speakers to correct your writing to improve even faster. You can submit sentences and phrases to your teacher using Premium Plus. Tip number 5, reading. Reading is a skill you can improve by yourself. There's no need to rush. It doesn't matter if you read 1 or 100 pages at a time. What matters is that you understand what you read. Write down new words as you read them to practice later. If there's an audio version, read along with the narrator. It'll help you read at a slightly faster speed than normal. You can use the audio that comes with each of our lessons. Bonus tip, never give up. Where do your language skills currently stand? Where do you want them to be? How do you get there? Whatever your goal is, make it clear and part of your life. You'll reach it if you stay focused and positive. And if you really want your skills to take off, make use of our tools and resources. They're designed to help you get to the next level in the fastest, easiest, and most fun way. Just click the link in the description to sign up for a free lifetime account. Sign up takes less than 30 seconds. Click the link in the description and start learning right away. I'll see you there. Bye! Can you really learn a new language all alone? Learning a language without traditional classroom instruction may seem quite daunting at first. What if you run into questions? How do you stay on track and motivated to achieve your goals? Don't worry. Not only is it possible to learn any language without traditional classroom instruction, we have created an advanced and extensive online language learning system to help you do just that. It's designed to help you learn a language on your own and is faster, more convenient, and less expensive than traditional classroom options. Here are 3 reasons to learn a language alone. Number 1. Learn at your own pace and on your own schedule. In today's fast-paced world, there isn't always time for traditional classroom instruction. But when you learn alone, you can study anywhere and anytime that suits your schedule best. It makes it far easier to actually reach your goal of learning and mastering the language. Number 2. Learning a language on your own can reduce stress and anxiety. In traditional classroom settings, there are pop quizzes, tests, and presentations in front of classmates. While it's valuable to learn public speaking skills and to be able to perform under pressure, for some people, these classroom pressures are a big hurdle for their language learning dreams. Learning alone, however, removes these stressors. Learning outside of a traditional classroom setting can help reduce some of the stress you may feel, and you can work towards your goals all on your own. Number 3. Learning alone can help improve cognitive function. While classroom settings often require learners to spend lots of time memorizing information and following instructions, studying a language on your own requires you to problem solve so that you can self-teach and hit your goals. You'll also need to be strict with yourself and stick to a regular study schedule. So yes, in some ways, learning a language on your own can be more challenging than learning in a traditional classroom setting. But teaching yourself a language pays dividends throughout life. In addition to learning a language, you'll also learn time management and problem-solving skills. These are skills that will aid you when social and professional opportunities arise. So, how do you actually learn a language on your own? Number 1. Access our huge collection of audio and video lessons. Ideally, you want audio and/or video lessons that teach vocabulary, grammar, and provide actual conversations and dialogue in your target language to help you with real pronunciation. We have hundreds of hours of HD audio and video lessons on our website, created by professional teachers and actors to help you achieve perfect pronunciation. Plus, all lessons can be accessed 24/7 via any device with internet access. Number 2. Learning paths with courses based upon your exact needs and goals. Simply tell us your goals and we will identify the best courses and study plan to help you reach them in the shortest time possible. Even though you are technically learning a language on your own, our team is always here to help and make sure you reach your goals fast. Number 3, use advanced learning tools. When you have the right tools and learning resources, it's actually easy to teach yourself a language. Over the last 10 years, we've developed, tested, and refined more than 20 advanced learning tools. These tools aim to boost retention and reduce learning time. Eliminate stress and start learning at your own pace, in bed, your car, or wherever you have a few spare minutes. Our learning resources and tools are designed to help you get to the next level in the fastest, easiest, and most fun way. Just click the link in the description to sign up for a free lifetime account. So if you want to learn language anytime, anywhere, sign up for a free lifetime account by clicking the link in the description. Sign up takes less than 30 seconds. Click the link in the description and start learning right away. I'll see you there. Bye! Want to master grammar so you can speak properly, express yourself better, and understand more? In this video, I'll show you how to master grammar with our lessons and learning program. Let's begin. Number 1. Listen to the lesson conversations and explanations. In every lesson, you learn a conversation. Then, our teachers break down every word and grammar rule. So you're actually learning grammar rules in the context of conversations, and you can easily see how they're used. Once you're done, review the conversation again and again to remember what you've learned. Number 2. Read the bonus explanations and tutorials. With the lesson notes, you get extra grammar explanations and examples that are not presented in the lesson. After you're done with the lesson, read the lesson notes for extra review. You can even save them as PDFs so that you can access them anytime. Number 3. Leave a comment on the lesson. Once you've learned a grammar point, be sure to use it. Leave a comment in the comments section. Write some example sentences for practice. Our teachers will review your comment and give you feedback. Number 4. Unlock even more grammar lessons. If you want to find all of the grammar lessons available, visit our lesson library. Under Category, choose Grammar. You'll get all of the pathways and lessons dedicated to helping you learn and master sentence patterns and grammar points. So, if you're ready to finally learn a new language the fast, fun, and easy way, sign up for your free lifetime account by clicking on the link in the description. Signing up takes less than 30 seconds, and you'll start speaking from your very first lesson. If you enjoyed these tips, hit the like button, share it with anyone who's trying to learn a new language, and subscribe to our channel. We release new videos every week. I'll see you next time. Bye! Have you always wanted to learn a new language? You probably have your own reason for wanting to learn, but there are huge benefits to being bilingual that you might not know about. In this video, I'll introduce a few of them. Here are some reasons why you should learn a new language. Number 1. You become smarter. Studies show that learning a new language improves your focus and memory. It improves your decision-making. You score higher on intelligence tests, and you're less likely to be swayed by propaganda. Number 2. You make more friends. Because you get to communicate with more people, you can meet more people and make more friends. This will help you get more opportunities, like jobs. Number 3. Find love. The more people you meet, the more opportunities you have of finding that special someone. Number 4. You can travel with ease. Simply because you can express yourself confidently in another language. Catching a cab, ordering food, and getting around will never be a problem. Number 5. You're more open-minded and feel more empathy. Because a new language puts you in another culture's shoes. When you can speak in another language, you see the world the way that the native speakers do. In fact, when some bilinguals switch from one language to another, they also switch personalities and express themselves differently. For example, people tend to feel more direct and assertive when speaking English, and more polite when speaking Japanese. So this allows you to understand others' worldviews and connect with people on a deeper level. Number 6. You delay the mental effects of aging. By 4 or 5 years. Learning and mastering another language sharpens your brain and increases the amount of gray matter, which helps delay dementia. So if you're ready to finally learn and master a new language the fast, fun, and easy way, sign up for your free lifetime account by clicking on the link in the description. Signing up takes less than 30 seconds, and you'll start speaking from your very first lesson. If you enjoyed these tips, hit the like button, share the video with anyone who's trying to learn a new language, and subscribe to our channel. We release new videos every week. I'll see you next time. Bye! When learning a new language, we sometimes have a hard time with things like procrastination, discouragement, or failure. But don't panic. With a good strategy, you'll be able to overcome these difficulties. Are you ready to discover the 4 habits of successful learners? Number 1. Optimize your time. When learning a language, it's important to dedicate time to your studies regularly, even if sometimes it's difficult. You're busy with school, work, family, or friends, but you can spread out your learning throughout the day. Study whenever you have small gaps of time in your busy schedule. This can be when you're on the metro, on your lunch break, or while you're exercising. Our podcast learning format fits perfectly into your tight schedule. Number 2. Consistency with your chosen method. There are a lot of options when it comes to courses and learning materials. Switching from one method to another can confuse you and disrupt your progress. Focusing on one learning method will make a difference. Our method has been created and optimized by real teachers, so you can stick to it with confidence. Number 3. Use your language background. Many languages share some commonalities. You can find words that look or sound similar, or even share the same grammar structure. A little bit of language background will give you an edge while learning. Number 4. Study continuously. People are excited when they start learning a new language. The enthusiasm usually lasts until the first roadblock. This can lead to discouragement and procrastination. But don't burn yourself out. Learning a language is a marathon, not a sprint. Don't try to learn it all at once. Break things down into more digestible chunks. Learning step by step might feel slow, but it's an efficient way to learn a language. With patience, motivation, and good resources, you'll master the language. Remember, you can't learn a language overnight, but with motivation and these daily lessons, you'll be on the road to fluency. Give it a try now. Sign up for your account. Just click the link in the description. If you're learning a new language, there will be times when you'll struggle with the lesson, when you won't fully understand what you've learned, when you'll be in a rut, or when you just won't feel like you're making any progress. And that's totally normal. In this video, you'll learn what to do if you're not learning and how to overcome language learning struggles. Let's begin. Number 1. Understand the mindset of a successful learner. Some learners are more successful than others. A key difference between successful learners and less successful learners is in the way they approach problems. Some learners rely completely on a learning program. If there's a grammar rule or word they don't understand, they get frustrated and blame the program. They don't look for solutions. Successful learners approach problems a little differently. If they encounter a problem, they look for a solution or ask for help instead of getting frustrated. You may feel frustrated at times, especially if you're a beginner, but how you choose to react will make all the difference. Number 2. Set small, measurable, realistic goals with a deadline. Most learners fail because they set big, vague goals, like, I want to be fluent. When they realize they have no idea how to do that, they lose motivation and quit. The solution to this? Set small, measurable, realistic goals with a deadline. For example, finish 10 audio lessons by the end of this week. Learn 20 words by the end of this week. Speak 1 minute of conversation by the end of this month. Listen to lessons for just 5 minutes a day, every day this month. Now your goals are small and realistic enough to accomplish. They're specific and measurable, so you know when you reach them, and the deadline gives you a finish line. For example, either you learned all 20 words by Friday or you didn't. When you reach your goal, you gain a ton of confidence. This improves your chances of reaching your next goal because you've had experience reaching a goal and you understand the things you need to do to be successful. Number 3, read along with the lesson notes and lesson transcripts. Now, what if you're doing a lesson but you can't catch a word? Take advantage of the lesson notes and lesson transcripts and read along with the lesson. The lesson notes give you in-depth grammar and vocabulary explanations that are not available in the lesson. And the lesson notes give you the word-for-word transcript of everything said in the lesson. So if you want to pick up every word, read the transcript. Number 4, review, because repetition is the mother of all learning. If you're struggling with a particular word, grammar rule, or lesson, be sure to repeat and review it a few times. And then, come back a few days later and review it again. This same principle is used in our spaced repetition flashcards. The system quizzes you on words, then re-quizzes you in 3 days, then in 6 days, and so on, until the word gets embedded in your long-term memory. Some things you can do right now are download the lesson and lesson notes, save the words to your word bank, or even write down the words or grammar rules. Then come back to review them later. Number 5, reach out to our teachers and ask questions. If you're a Premium Plus member, you can easily get in touch with your teacher and get all of your points of confusion cleared up. Or you can always leave a comment on our lessons, and our teachers will get back to you. Remember, you're not alone. If you're struggling with a lesson, you can always get in touch with us. Number 6, take a break and go do something else. Another thing you can do is take a break and do something else that doesn't require much thinking. There's a reason our best ideas come while in the shower or while taking a walk. While you're on a break, your brain is more relaxed and starts making connections that you couldn't see when you were focused and stressed out. It's also why coming back to review things with a fresh mind can help you better understand the lessons you've taken. Number 7, downgrade your learning routine. If you're studying for 30 minutes a day and find yourself overwhelmed, or if you suddenly find yourself busy, the best thing to do is to reduce your study routine to something easier and more manageable. If you've been learning 30 minutes a day, drop down to 10 or 15 minutes. Even 5 minutes is good enough because language learning success comes with consistency. Quitting and coming back every 3 months won't work. This brings us to our next point. Number 8, remember, learning a language is a marathon, not a sprint. Think about it. You can't cram for 5 hours and expect to remember everything you've studied. So just like with a marathon, it's okay to go slow and at your own pace, even if you're learning for just 5 minutes a day. Similarly, if you're having trouble understanding a grammar point or a lesson, don't let it bring you down. Learning a language is a marathon, a long-term game. The little points of confusion you have now are just small obstacles, and you'll fully understand them with time. So, if you're ready to finally learn a new language the fast, fun, and easy way, sign up for your free lifetime account by clicking on the link in the description. Signing up takes less than 30 seconds, and you'll start speaking from your very first lesson. If you enjoyed these tips, hit the like button, share the video with anyone who's trying to learn a new language, and subscribe to our channel. We release new videos every week. I'll see you next time. Bye! If you're tired of knowing and speaking the language at a basic level and want to express yourself fluently just like native speakers, then you'll need to learn grammar. The problem? It can be tricky to learn. But don't worry. In this guide, you'll discover how to learn and master grammar with the Grammar Bank. 1. Where to get all of the grammar explanations you'll ever need. 2. The best way to learn grammar that's right for your level. And 3. How to expose yourself to real examples until the rules become natural to you with a study tool called the Grammar Bank inside of our learning program. But first, if you don't yet have access to our program, sign up for a free lifetime account right now. Just click the link in the description. First, what is the Grammar Bank? The Grammar Bank is like a grammar dictionary, except online. It's a database of the must-know grammar rules and explanations that makes it easy to look up specific rules and learn them. Look for it in the top menu of our site. 2. How do you learn grammar with it? The best way to learn grammar is not to just study rules, but to learn in context and hear the grammar used in real life. And that's exactly how you learn with our lessons. You learn a quick conversation and hear how the grammar rules are used within that conversation. 3. What if you come across grammar that you're not familiar with? Or what if you want to review a specific rule without going back to redo a lesson? That's where the Grammar Bank comes in. You can look up grammar rules and get the explanations, examples, and links to lessons where we cover these rules. You can also sort grammar by learning level. So if you're an absolute beginner and want to make sure you know all of the absolute beginner grammar rules, you can do just that with the Grammar Bank. You can also sort the rules by spelling, category, and lesson series. And if you want to get used to the grammar patterns so that you can use them in conversation and become fluent, The best way is to expose yourself to examples as much as possible. Grammar is hard at first, but gets easy once you get used to it with enough exposure. Be sure to access the related lessons inside the grammar bank and listen to the native conversations that use the rule as much as possible. So, if you want to become fluent and speak perfectly, you'll need grammar. Take advantage of the grammar bank inside of our learning program. But if you don't yet have access, sign up for a free lifetime account right now. Just click the link in the description to sign up. Expand your vocabulary with our core 2,000 words ebook. It's free and packed with essential expressions that you'll use on a daily basis. Start building your vocabulary today. Click the link in the description below to download your free Korean ebook before it's gone.